exactly the kind of information do you want from the study? What do you want? What do you want?
Kia ora koutou katoa, atamaria everyone, welcome and good morning to the sunny shores of Lake Taupo. Here we are for the finale of this little tri-series of sprint distance triathlons that we've been holding around the North Island. We started in New Plymouth, then we went to Mount Maunganui, and here we are in Taupo. We're kicking off with the women. We've got the elite women and the junior women going all together in the sprint distance triathlon. There you can see the times on screen, 8:50. We are about to get underway shortly, so we're going to skip over to the introductions for our athletes this morning, and we are in store for a treat this morning of triathlon. We've had great racing these last 2 weekends, and this is the big climax of those 3 series of sprint distance triathlons. My name's Hayden Sherman. I'm joined in the commentary booth by Stephen Sheldrake. How are you, Stephen?
Yeah, morning, Hayden. New location, 3 weeks in a row, as you said. It's an amazing day here, perfect racing conditions, and
yeah, and we're going to skip over to hear what athletes we've got towing the start line here in Lake Taupo.
Kia ora guys, I'm Hamish and I'm going to be your MC for today. What we're going to do is we're going to welcome through our technical team. Our technical team today is led out. The technical delegate is Phil Daly, and we also have head referee Ross Capel. Alrighty, now it is time for our elite women's to line up. Wearing number 1, the winner of the New Plymouth Continental Cup, the Nicole van der Kay. Wearing number 2, we have third place at Antwerp World Cup in 2019, third place at the Mount Maunganui Oceania Cup, Ainsley Thorpe. Winner of the Santo Domenico World Cup in 2019, second place at the Oceania Cup in New Plymouth and in Mount Maunganui, we have Andrea Hansen. Wearing 34, the Oceania Junior Women's Sprint Champion of 2019, Hannah Knighton. Wearing number 35, representing Belgium, Hannah de Vet. Wearing number 36, Bria Roderick. Wearing number 37, Ava Goodison. Wearing number 38, Olivia Thornberry. Wearing number 39, Hannah Howell. Wearing number 40, Olivia Cummings. Wearing number 41, Madison Knightley. Wearing number 42, we have Anghard Lau Allen. Lau Allen? Yep. Wearing number 45, Amada Ray. And wearing number 46, we have Natasha Bowyer. And very shortly, in 2 minutes' time, we'll also be having our junior woman coming up to the start line as well. But this is our elite woman kicking off. It is the final event in the series of 3 here in New Zealand. A nice chilly morning here in Taupo.
Well, there we are. There's our starters here at the sprint distance triathlon, the Oceania Continental Cup here in Lake Taupo. Here we are at 3 Mile Bay, and we've got a wonderful course laid out for us here. This is a new course that goes through some of the residential suburbs that just sit on this beautiful part of the lake here. So we've got a nice crystal clear water to swim through, and it's a 750 metre swim, so they are out in the water. And this well, it's not too cold. I had a little dip in the water this afternoon, Stephen, or yesterday afternoon, and it wasn't too bad. It's probably about 17, 18 degrees. So autumn triathlon. Here we go. Beautiful conditions.
Oh, look at that. Amazing shots from the drones that we're getting here today in Lake Taupo. And as you said, they measured the water temperature about an hour ago, as they do at all elite races, and it was 17 degrees. So for anyone who's new to triathlon, anything that's under 20 is a wetsuit swim. Anything over 20, wetsuits come optional. And they all chose them because they're a lot faster than swimming without a wetsuit.
So we are off, and as you can see, just 2 arrowheads forming at the moment. So 750 metre swim. Now the swim course is kind of like a diamond shape, so they'll have 3 buoys to get around on the outskirts of the swim. And then we've got a really interesting bike course that they're going to tackle. So 7 laps of a 2.85 kilometre course, and that will add up to 20 Ks. Now, Stephen, you said yesterday you had a little drive around the circuit. What can we expect, and what sort of tactics are we looking for?
Yeah, the key with is drove, because it's a tough little course, so I was a little bit lazy. But it's a very technical course. It's 7 laps. It's got a very tight sort of downhill into transition. You do a loop around, which is very, very narrow, and go back out again. So just we've got the elite juniors on the start line. Only a small field today with 3 of the young ladies. We'll try and get some names to you soon. But
Yeah, so we've
starting
got
2 minutes
Isabel
later.
Bannister, Monique Spedding and Charlotte Brown, we believe, are the starters. Now, I wonder if they're going to be called back. No, they're away. Oh, no, they're going to be called back. Often, you see with triathlon, you can get away with a slightly earlier start.
I think there might have been a horn, half a horn, and someone's like, sure, is that the horn or not? So they'll just they're all smiling. So the flag goes up, that means that they're ready to start, and the starter will give them a start. But yeah, these ladies will be starting. They may be 2 minutes after. They're looking a little bit earlier at 1:50. But yeah, a very short little wade here, a little bit different to last weekend at the Mount where it was a longer wade and a bit more of a duck diving. But it goes deep fairly quickly, very flat, 7 degrees. Yeah, 1 lap swim today, and as you were saying, a 7-lap ride. Very technical, very narrow in some spots. So you're going to see some tactical riding from these elites where they'll be trying to jockey for position before they come into the downhill round into transition and around the loop that they've got to do. And I believe we're going to get some drone shots of the footage today. It's so tight on there that we're going to struggle to have a motorbike with a camera out there. So the drone shots will it will show you how tight this course actually is. But it looks like the ladies are still fairly bunched together. No one's really got a gap yet. They've got about a 350 metre swim out to that first buoy. And they'll do an anti-clockwise loop back to shore.
So you can see those beautiful scenes coming from the drone up in the sky. And one thing you can always expect when you come to Taupo for a triathlon is that you'll be able to get some great views of the bottom of the lake. It's always crystal clear, and this is just wonderful conditions, nice and still here. It's sort of in the early morning. Light looks like there's a little bit of chop, but it's really not going to make any difference. It's been just variable winds, so it's basically still conditions. Beautiful fog on the lake this morning, and it was icy cold this morning. I was wearing gloves on my run earlier this morning, and it was about 4 or 5 degrees. Now heated up to about 9 or 10 degrees, but as the sun warms up this course, no doubt will be shorts and t-shirt weather by the time the boys are out there racing. We're expecting nice sunny conditions. So look at this, great pack forming as they come around the buoy.
Yeah, definitely. So they're all approaching that first buoy together. This is where you see the big group, like it's close together here at the moment, start to stretch out. But ladies are a little bit nicer than the men. You see the men, they don't want to give an inch, and they'll go in and they'll take the shortest line possible. But those ladies were quite nice going around that nice buoy. But yeah, they're still very close together. We'll try and get some names up the front there. We expect to see the likes of Ainsley Thorpe and Olivia Thornbury, a winner last weekend in Mount Maunganui. Ava Goodison, Nicole Vanderkay's back this week after having a week off last week. She had a slight niggle. She was on the commentary team last week and is back on the start line. Had a lot of FOMO watching the race, she told me. So she's happy to be out there racing here in her home city of Taupo.
So a reminder what happened last week. It was just the most exciting finish where we had, it was Ainsley Thorpe who was pulling away for the win, and then unbeknownst to us had to serve a 10-second penalty after missing that was it the dismount line? No, it was the mount line. She jumped on her bike a little early.
No, coming off the bike, I believe.
Okay.
She just went over the line a little bit early, so I saw her just before the start and sort of gave her a bit of a grief about where the line was, a bit of a joke about it. So she's very clear, and she said in her own remarks after the race that she'll never do it again.
Yeah.
And she said that it's better to do in these local races as opposed to the big international, the Olympic Games, the World Championships and things like that.
It made just such a thrilling finish. So we had Andrea Hansen in second place, who we thought, well, if Ainsley Thorpe's pulling over, Andrea Hansen's going to hang on for the win, but out of nowhere came a resurgent Olivia Thornbury for the win, and that was just such a wonderful race to watch. So we can expect more of the same. We're going to be following the action in the elite field and try to give you updates on that junior field as well, but certainly all eyes on this group of women who are just so evenly matched. We saw the week before last with that wonderful win from Nicole Vanderkay, really just dominating on the run. It seems like she'll be the woman to hang on to, but this battle with about 4 or 5 women up the front. We had 4 women off the bike last week. We can expect more of the same with all of these women just being so evenly matched. So as you can see on the swim already, nothing separating them. Everyone's connected, and looks like it might come down to this fun technical bike course.
Yeah, it will be. And, as you were saying before, there's a little hill out of transition, and that's going to be the difference. I mean, you can be, it looks like that pack's all close together, and this is going to jump on the bike and ride together. But 2 or 3 seconds off the back, a little bit slow through T1 transition, getting onto your bike with your feet in your shoes and up that first hill. Yeah, we'll see at the top of the first hill who is going to make that front pack. But there will be some victims and that will miss out and have to be chasing. But, I mean, they're just starting to stretch a little bit there at the moment. But how exciting it is to see. We don't know who's going to win this race. We can have 3 races with 3 different winners and 3 different podiums throughout this 3-week pro series that we've had.
Absolutely. And so a reminder, in week 1 of this 3 weekend series, it was Nicole van der Kay who took it out. Andrea Hansen was in second, and then it was Eva Goodison running very well off the bike to claim that 3rd place. And then last week, of course, we had Olivia Thornbury coming through for the win. Andrea Hansen in second again, and then in 3rd place after serving that 10-second penalty, 9 seconds off the win, importantly, was Ainsley Thorpe. So let's see how this unfolds. We're getting close to the end stages of the swim here in the beautiful waters of Lake Taupo, which are more familiarly known as serving up the long-distance variety of the triathlon with the 3.8K. But today it's all about the fast and furious sprint distance triathlon, and the sun is just coming out as we round off the swim leg in the elite women's sprint distance triathlon. And just as I said that it was looking all pretty close, we're seeing a little bit of a separation, so maybe a bit of a surge here. Stephen Sheldrake by some of the top swimmers trying to get a little bit of a break into T1.
Yeah, definitely. They've, the more experienced athletes will understand how important the last sort of 100 metres of the swim, running up, getting your wetsuit down to your mid-drift and then pulling it off and getting on the bike. So they'll be starting to stretch it. We'll see how urgent they are through T1, because this can be the difference between making the front pack and having a top 5 finish potentially today, or not making that front pack. And look at those overhead shots of how clean the water is here, mate. Amazing.
It's beautiful. It's always a stop if you're driving down the length of the North Island. Make sure you're in the summer months that you're booking a swim in Lake Taupo. And here we go.
Look at
Swimmers
that.
will
Very
start
fast
to
swim too. We're going to be just over 9 minutes, so that's great swimming today by these ladies. And still very bunched together, mate. It looks like it's going to be 6 or 7 that'll be in together, even more. But this is the most important bit: is getting up, running, going from that horizontal position to standing, and that blood going down. So
4 or 5 athletes all come out all together, and then there's a whole bunch just behind them. So it's very close running, as you can see. They're just whipping off their wetsuits down to their midriff. The goggles come off, the swim caps come off. There's a lot of those little processes to work through. I can see Ava Goodison in there. One of the key elements to the swim is where is Andrea Hansen. She was about 25 seconds down.
Yeah, so she's a little bit closer this week, but she's just struggling, but it looks like to get her wetsuit down. But they're all looking for their bikes. It's always a bit confusing when you're running in and looking for your bikes. You've got to remember your number, and they're just doing their exit, and they are jumping onto T1. Looks like Nicole racing in a thermal today. She's struggling a little bit to get her a buckle on her helmet done, and she's going to have to ride really hard here to get across to that front group. So this is the key part of the race here in regards to getting your feet in and getting up that hill.
So Andrea Hansen, she was 40 this week, so maybe she can put that down to a little bit of the lack of flexibility that comes with getting into your 40s, stretching for that zip on the wetsuit. But she's on the bike now. She'll have a bit of work to do to get back up to contention, but obviously those younger women really trying to make that T1 count and get a bit of a break. So everyone coming out very close in the swim, and then it really came down to who had the chops in T1. So you can see them there out onto the bike. Now this bike course, they will head up Whariwaka Road, and that's the main hill climb, and then there's a lot of ducking, diving into these residential streets. Really cool course laid out where a lot of corners, a lot of turns. We've got a nice little loop back down towards the transition area. and that pinchy little hill up Whariwaka.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very different course to last week. Last week was just a hot dog type loop where they just power on into the corner, power out, and just keep it on. Quite constant power throughout the ride. Today it's going to be on, off, on, off. A lot of thinking, a lot of technical skills, a lot of decision making on whose wheel to follow, because they'll know between each other who are the good girls, who are technically good. And we see there on the overhead shots, we've got looks like we've got about 8 or 9 in there. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of gap they're going to have on the likes of Andrea. Whether Nicole has got a cross up that first hill. She's racing in a white poly today, and it looks like she may be on the back of that group there, just making her way across and going straight to the front there, because on a technical course like this, you're best to stay near the front for the entire ride, and you dictate the pace that you go into corners. No one can make a mistake in front of you that's going to affect you. The elastic band in and out of the corners, if you're in a group of 8 or 9 and you've got Simon just a little bit slower, opening up a metre each time, that's 8 metres you've got to close on every corner if you're on the back of it. So, yeah, like I said, it's so fun because we've had, the very hard, windy course in New Plymouth. Last weekend, absolutely still conditions on a dead flat course, which made for really fast running. Those girls dropped some 17, just over 17 minutes. We had a Hayden Wild, we're going to see later this morning, run a 14:13. And then today we're going to have a real tough ride and another flat course, but a tougher bike ride that makes a difference.
So our junior women coming out of the water there. Now you can take 2 minutes off that time because remember they started 2 minutes after the elite. But here are the elite women, and we've got a pack of, 9 cyclists all riding together. So very close racing to start with. Now this is in the residential area, so it's 7 laps of a 2.85 kilometre bike ride, and you can see how technical that is. A lot of turns, a lot of twisting, some narrower parts of the course that will become a bit technical, and you definitely have to have your wits about you. We had a couple of crashes last week, and Stephen's just pointed out to me there was one cyclist about 100 metres back who
I'm pretty
most
sure
likely
that's
Andrea.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen over the last 2 weeks how strong she is, particularly in that race in New Plymouth on the hilly course, where she just used her strength. And sometimes we get a big pack. There's 9 in that group where they will look at each other a fair bit and they'll slow each other down. Where you're off the back and you're desperate to get across, you just ride hard the whole way. And, I wouldn't be surprised if she is back on at the start of the second lap.
Yeah, we saw her last week do brilliantly to bridge back up to that leading pack of cyclists and then run so well off the bike. Didn't quite have the kick to stay with Olivia Thornbury in the sprint, but here they come. You can see this big pack of 9 cyclists riding all together, and then about 50-60 metres behind that sole cyclist who we believe is Andrea Hansen, of course previously Andrea Hewitt. And this is the little loop circuit around, let's call it the car park loop. Yeah, as they come around this car park area on it's a little point that sticks out into Lake Taupo, and here they come.
Yeah, it's a very, very narrow. You can see they're all single file. There's not much room for passing each other, and this will be a crucial point at the end of the bike on lap 7 when they come down, that they're going to be near the front. They want to get into T2 really quickly and run out hard, as we see. Looks like Nicole Vanderkay, very easy to spot today from these drone shots because she's racing with a thermal. A little bit cooler here today. I'm guessing it's about 11-12 degrees now. I think it's going to be a high of 18 later today. It was very fresh, as you said, this morning when we woke up. It looks like we've got a group of 8, potentially 1 falling off the back. And
look at Andrea,
just
storming up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what's happened. Maybe just a little mechanical with that rider just slipping off the back there. But Andrea is just storming from behind, coming up. And like you said, we're very likely to see her back in that pack after one lap, and she's done the work, done the mahi, and she's back in where she wants to be.
It's quite
really
deceiving.
hammering it on that bike.
These shots don't really do justice how hard that hill is. It looks like it's very subtle climbing up, but it's quite hard, and that's going to take some sting out of the legs. It's going to slow the run down a little bit for some of them, and I'm not going to be surprised if a few drop off on each lap, and we only end up with 5 or 6 towards the end. If some of the girls want to throw down and have a hard ride. Nicole said it last week in her commentary. She prefers a hard ride and running off a hard ride, and And there'll be some other girls that want an easier ride and just wanting fresher legs coming off it and being able to get up to, that fast leg turnover as they come out of transition. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see the tactics that play out throughout this morning with both the ladies and the men's races.
And one of the great things over the last couple of weeks is the way that these women's races have played out with just keeping that bike together and making it very, very technical, very tactical. A lot of, a lot of attacks, a lot of that what you'd expect from an elite race overseas with a whole pack riding together and having that here in New Zealand rather than a breakaway rider and really pulling away from the pack. It's very exciting to watch.
No, it is, and isn't a really great opportunity for our younger developing athletes to develop the skills that they're going to be needing overseas. And, a lot of our big WTS races, our World Series races are in major cities and downtowns, and it's very, it's like 100 metres right, 100 metres left, turning, dead turn, so it's a lot of real technical courses. Whereas in New Zealand, we tend to have races that are on, out and backs. It's sort of one lap in the past, and, it's really, credit to the likes of Chanel Barrett and Paul Miller, who put on the race last weekend for, putting on these amazing courses in these cool locations. And, there's been a lot of positive talk amongst the triathlon community that this Pro Series that we're calling it, this 3 weeks in a row, has been really, really cool. And, the athletes are loving it, It's the opportunity to, they've had 2 years of sitting at home, being frustrated by the rest of the world being able to race, and they've been training hard, had nothing to look forward to, and, we've had these 3 amazing races in these 3 cool locations.
So cool. And a big shout out as well to all these households here who are hopefully just sitting out on the deck watching the action go past, but obviously disruptive to a few of the locals who wake up in the morning and find there's a bike race going on in their neighbourhood. But what a cool place to be doing this, right on the shores of Lake Taupo, and it is beautiful scenes and it's these wonderful shots from overhead. So we've got a pack of 10 cyclists who are all together in the sprint distance triathlon. Reminder that it's 7 laps and they are out on the second lap at the moment. 7 laps of this just under 3k course, and then of course it's a 5k run. Now the run will be two laps, and that is just a simple old out and back run along the lake shore pathway. Anyone who's been for a run on Lake Taupo understands this this pathway. It's just it's a beautiful slightly undulating walkway that just follows the waterline, so that will be a great run as well to see how that unfolds. So 2 laps on the run, but the focus at the moment is this 7 laps on the bike, and we've got 10 cyclists all together. And well, I say all together, a couple of cyclists just starting to drift off the back potentially or ease up as we get close to a corner.
Yeah, you'll see the more experienced riders definitely sitting near the front and just staying out of trouble. And it looks like definitely Nicole Vanderkay, and it looks like Hannah de Vet's up the front too this time. She's the partner of Hayden Wild. She's racing in the Belgium kit. So, it's going to be maybe the biggest group we've had over the last few weeks coming together. But, if it stays at 10, this is the hard bit. This is, like I said before, is a real deceiving part of the course where they climb up a hill, and it gets quite hard. It's quite steep towards the end, and some of those riders that are sitting near the back throughout the ride and are having to close those gaps in all those corners could feel the pinch in a few laps time. But this is the start of lap number 3.
So Hannah de Vet and Eva Goodison, I believe last week clashed wheels on one of the turns, and both of them ended up getting a taste of the pavement there in Mount Maunganui. So they both finished a little bit further down the order than what they would have liked. I believe Hannah finished in 8th and Ava finished in 7th place last week.
And the interesting thing would have been, the interesting thing was that Ava then ran the fastest split by a second or so, faster than the girls that won it. So, if she'd been in that front pack like the previous week, it would have been another person in that 4-way sprint. And, obviously Nicole wasn't there. So, we're going to get a 5-way sprint today, potentially.
Very, very likely. And it just shows how exciting this domestic series has been.
Yeah.
We've got 5 women all capable of taking the win, and look, don't discount the others as well. Someone like Hannah DeVette will be loving this more technical bike course, which, like you say, has those surging corners. We'll see those power readings come out with those big wattage spikes as they come around these corners, and there's not many passing opportunities here as well. So how's that going to play into the tactics and how these athletes are choosing to ride? You mentioned the more experienced athletes staying out of trouble, staying up the front, but we're not going to see that nice team pursuit formation that we had last time with rolling and sharing the lead.
Yeah, it's a funny sort of, it's the size of the group on the course that it's got. You know what I mean? Personally, I want to be in the top 3 or 4. You don't want to be on the front the whole time. There's not much wind out there, but, you know what I mean? You are going to be saving energy being out the front as opposed to going to the back and trying to make your way to the front, closing those gaps. And, there'll be some riders out there that are just a little bit smoother on the corner. They don't go into the brakes as much. It doesn't affect the rest of them. And they'll be using that to their advantage, you know what I mean? And the real strong ones will be trying to work over the weaker cyclists that are the better runners. So there's a lot of mind games going on. There's a lot of positioning going on. There'll be a lot of girls going, I don't want that girl's wheel, I want that girl's wheel. She's a little bit, smoother in her efforts. She backs off a little bit when I've got to come through. But, like you said, very surgy. All the coaches will look at the power profiles afterwards. There'll be a big difference between average power and normalised power. Because all the zeros will be taken out. But that's the beauty about this sport, you know what I mean? We've got 3 different courses, and you've got to be strong on the flat and fast, and you've got to be strong on the hills and technical, and you've got to be strong in the flat water. You've got to be able to wade in the surf, and you've got to be able to deal with the wind in places like New Plymouth. And it's not in a, we're not in a swimming pool inside indoors, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not the arena games which we're on earlier this weekend. Was it last night?
Last night our time, I believe. So another part of our sport that's sort of the e-games, as they call it, and something that's developed and getting
almost
bigger and bigger.
Almost a product of the pandemic, but a cool little innovation to the sport. Now, is this Andrea Henson at the front who's decided to go and just make this bike as hard as possible? She closed up the gap from T1 in the first lap, and it looks like she is back on the front, up out of the seat, hammering those pedals, and you can see those little gaps forming. There's a good pack of 4 women, and then is it just cyclists just struggling to hang on to the power surges that Andrea is applying up the front?
Yeah, it's definitely Andrea, and then it's Nicole with the white thermal one underneath, so she's quite easy to pop out. But she's playing to her strengths. She loves the hill. She knows this is a technical part of it, and she's driving it really, really hard. And you can see them starting to stretch. It looks like we've lost the 2 off the back, and they're going to find it very, very hard to get it back to that front group of 8.
So if you've just joined the coverage, welcome to Lake Taupo as we finish off this domestic season of triathlon with a sprint distance triathlon. This is the Oceania Continental Cup. We are 3 laps down on a 7-lap bike. 20k to ride round the suburbs of Taupo. Here, there's a good overview of what this course is like, and it's really like it's a beautiful race course, isn't it? It's sort of the course that you want to be riding in terms of having lots of contact with the spectators, lots of corners, a little pinchy hill. It's technical, but there's some fast sections as well.
No, this is very cool. And his overhead shots are amazing. It's amazing to see how much Taupo's even grown in the last few years with that new subdivision off the other side of the main road there. But he was having a good chat with Chanel Barrett yesterday, and she has a vision of this being next year, the day after Ironman New Zealand.
Nice.
So, a lot of work's got to happen before then, and get approvals and council. But, you've got 1,000 Ironman athletes, all the family and spectators waking up the next day and coming watching something completely different, short and sharp. So watch this space.
That would be amazing. And of course, no Ironman this year, so a lot of those athletes will be watching this coverage and hoping that normality resumes next season, and we get to have. I know that we've been supposed to have a 70.3 world champs at some stage. Is that going to happen?
I believe they pushed that
December?
out to 2023, or I think it is. So I think they've still got it. I'm just not sure what the timing of it, but. There's the half Ironman or the 70.3 in December, I believe it's been pushed out to this year. So, as you said, this is the home of Ironman. You know what I mean? I think it was 1999. It was moved from Auckland down to here in Taupo. So, also at 23 years it's been down here, and it's it's quite regularly voted one of the most stunning and the best Ironman for international people to come to because of the community that gets behind it, and it's such a massive event, and hope it's we're back to normality, whatever that means, come March, come the first Saturday, the first weekend in March, when Ironman New Zealand normally is.
And when we talk about towns that really get behind this sport, it's not just for that one weekend. There's a great little triathlon community here in Taupo.
Yes. Yeah, for a long time they've had a very active triathlon club. Trisport Taupo, that have produced a lot of amazing athletes, and they've gone on to race internationally. The likes of Bevan Doherty, two-time Olympic medalist, and a number of other ones. I know Sam Warren now lives here, and she's got a triathlon squad that she takes. And,
awesome.
Clark Ellis, an ex-international athlete that's based here in Taupo as well. So, it is a community, triathlon community here that's been here for a long time.
Potentially more Olympic medals have come from this town per capita than most towns in the world for triathlon. Thanks, Bevan, for that contribution. So here we go. We've got 8 cyclists. Look like they've maybe dropped a couple off the back of that little pack, and potentially from that hard work that Andrea Hansen has been doing at the front of the pack. But it looks like maybe she's sitting second wheel at the moment. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Are we up to 9? So one athlete just slipping off the back. But here they come down into Car Park Loop for the 4th time. So 4 laps down. We've got 3 to go of this very exciting bike course here in Lake Taupo.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got all our main players in this race still here. It looks like definitely Andrea and Olivia. Nicole's there. I believe Hannah's still there, along with Ava Goodison, and most likely Bria's definitely there. Bria Roderick, the young 20-year-old out of Canterbury. And then Hannah Knighton, I would dare say, is still in that group as well.
So we believe Andrea Hansen has the white helmet, so that helps to distinguish her from the pack. And then, as you said, Nicole van der Kay with the white sleeves, wearing the thermal today to keep a bit warmer, and it's definitely heating up every minute as the sun does its job to make this feel a bit more summery. It was certainly autumnal this morning, and the leaves are going brown around the lake here. It's certainly, we're just hanging on to the dregs of summer at the moment, but it is 9 athletes pushing up the hill here in Lake Taupo. So this is Whariwaka Road, which heads up into this little residential suburb here at 3 Mile Bay. And if you're wondering how it got its name, well, you sort of count out your miles from the CBD. You've got 2 Mile Bay, 3 Mile Bay, 4 Mile Bay that you can see in the distance. Then round the corner is 5 Mile Bay. So very...
makes it nice and easy, if you're a tourist.
And it's great when you're running along the coastal path as well. When you're at 2 Mile Bay, you know you've run about 3K. When you're at 3 Mile Bay, that's about 5K. So very helpful for the distances. And so they're at the top end of that residential loop, and maybe this is one of our junior athletes riding along, doing it solo. So just 3 athletes in the junior women's race this morning. We were having a couple of the other juniors stepping up into this race. I believe Sophie Spencer, who just dominated the 2 junior races in New Plymouth and Mount Maunganui, I believe that she's a scratching this morning.
Yeah, I think she decided that after 2 weekends of racing very well and getting the nod for most likely the selections come out in the next week or so for Junior Worlds in Montreal in late June, that she was going to have the weekend off. and she'll probably have a bit of a break and then start thinking about her international season and getting ready for that. So.
And she did say in the interview after last week's race, where she again had to ride solo and lead things out the front, that she was pretty tired. So understandably taking a rest this weekend, but a bit of grouping, bit of...
Yeah, they're all looking at each other. This is probably a bit of a non-technical part of the course, if you want to call it that. And, there'll be some that are sitting there going, I'm going to sit back and save myself. Some are going to sit near the front and stay out of trouble and make the pace hard. And, this is the bit that they start, you got about probably half a kilometre before they do a left-hand turn and start coming down the hill to the technical bit. And I hope you're counting, mate, because I've lost already.
Yeah, this is lap number 5.
Okay,
so
good.
according to the little scratches that I'm keeping on my notepad here,
It's like a prison man, mate. You're sort of ticking off the days.
Counting them down.
Yeah.
And so we've got 9 athletes. One athlete has just slipped off the back of that pack, so they're in no woman's land, just stuck between some of the tail enders in this field of, what have we got, about 16 athletes on the start line of this women's race. But it's 9 women all wheel to wheel up the front, being driven, as we've seen several times throughout the bike course, by Andrea Hansen, the Masters athlete now, into the 40s, and still as strong as ever, and looking to make this bike ride as hard as she possibly can for these younger women.
Yeah, definitely. So we're finishing off number 5. We've got 2 laps to go. We've got about 5 kilometres, just over that, to do that. They seem to be going around this course in about 4 minutes 15 each lap. And, you'll watch definitely on the last lap. The pace will be fast all the way through. And I'm just trying to get who this is. Potentially it's Brea Roderick. She's a very good technical rider, and she's been well trained and making sure that she's sitting near the front for these technical bits.
So they're on to the car park loop here, which signifies the end of lap number 5, and then they've got 2 more to ride. That's Andrea Hansen just rolling through into first place. So a little bit of a sharing of the lead, so good to see. So obviously some of the stronger cyclists staying near the front of the packs, trying to stay out of trouble, and this is one of the key elements of the race today, is you want to stay on your wheels. You don't want to be tasting the tarmac today. You want to be nice and clear and really make the best use of this run and not have any difficulties out there on the bike. So now they're onto that hill. They'll tackle this 2 more times. This is the second to last time up this hill.
Yeah, that lap was a little bit slow. I just took a split on it last time, and I've just gone through in about 4 minutes 40. So there's a few sort of 4:15s, 4:20s. That was a little bit slower. Though, Andrea tried to attack and break the group up, didn't get away, and now she'll probably be sitting back going, I'm going to just save my legs for a little bit. And you'll watch that last lap that they will drive it really, really hard to make sure they're near the front coming down the hill for the turn around the car park as we've caught it and into T2. And then, it'll be interesting to see the tactics. Last week we had about 3 or 4 go out. They had a small gap to Andrea where she managed to run across. Then the previous weekend we saw Nicole come in first and drive it really, really quickly out. And as I said last week, she's had a bit of a niggle with the foot. Nothing too bad. She was suggested by her physios and support team just to sort of sit out last week. But it'll be interesting to see what tactics she plays today in regards to the start of that run. Whether she's going to go hard early and the girls are going to follow, or they're going to look at each other and make the second lap hard. So.
Well, that's what we saw in New Plymouth, where Nicole just went out of the gates, out of T2, nice and strong, and immediately got the break on the field, and it really became a running race.
Yep.
And obviously Nicole, what did she get? 4th at the New Zealand 5,000 metre champs on the track. Ava Goodison, coincidentally, got second in that particular race, but certainly Nicole is potentially the strongest runner off the bike of this group, so she would be the favourite at this stage of the race. But you never know what's going to happen, as we saw last week, where it all came down to the last 100 metres. And at the moment it's 9 riders wheel to wheel, a bit more strung out this time, this stage in the race, in the cycle race. On the last lap it looked a lot more bunched around this part of the course. But this beautiful residential area, all these houses overlooking the lake, views out towards Mount Ruapehu. And they come around this residential area, then it's down the hill onto the car park loop. And they will have one more lap of this 2.8k cycle leg to go.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome to see a group of women all riding together. And then the other element is how fast Olivia Thornberry finished off last week. That last 400 metres, it looked like the rubber band was going to go.
Yeah.
We didn't know at that time that sort of Ainsley got the call that she got a penalty, so she was going to have to push the pace to try and get 10 seconds to sort of null avoid that penalty with the rest of them. But Olivia stuck to her own game plan and finished off really, really strong. And, we've talked about and we've seen over the last 20 years the ability of Andrea Hansen to sprint really hard. We've now seen Olivia Thornberry can go from 300-400 metres out. We've seen Nicole take it out really, really hard. We've seen Ainsley front run last week, and it may have been a different result had she not got that penalty.
Yes.
We had Ava Goodison, who ran faster than those front girls last week, but had a small crash and was off the back. So
left some skin on the road.
What's going to happen today, I'm not quite sure. But all I know, it's going to be a really good foot race early on, and on this out and back course. I believe this is where the Taupo uses the fun run, their park run every Saturday morning. That's the course that they use for that. I know Nicole's ran it a few times. I think she's got the fastest time for ladies out there, so she knows it well. But it's very tight, and it's going to be not many opportunities to pass.
So here they come. It looks like Andrea Hansen still on the front, that white helmet that we've seen right up near the front of this bike pack as they come down car park loop for the last time, one more time round this bike course, strung out, and these women just happy to stick to the wheel in front of them and keep with this tough pace being set by Andrea Hansen. She had about 150 metres that she needed to make up out of T1. She made it up on the first lap and has gone to the front of the bike pack and made it very honest for the woman behind her.
This is where it's going to get interesting this lap. They've got 2.25k to get themselves in the right position and without doing too much effort. You know what I mean? You don't want to go to the front now and just sit on the front and not let anyone pass you, because you're going to come into T2 fairly tired. So it's about sitting close enough near the front where you can dive towards the front before you come back down the hill. You dictate the pace coming in around the hill. You come off the bike first, and it was going to be interesting to see. And it's you'll see on the dismount line, it's right outside where we're commentating at the moment, so we're going to get a really, really good shot. And they're going to make sure, particularly Ainsley, that she doesn't go over it this week. I'm sure she won't. It's about the fast and the furious when they come in for this dismount. And then
I
think
we'll see Ainsley jump off the bike about 20 metres before and just make absolute sure.
Because it's so technical, I think it's going to be quite strung out. It's going to be on ones and twos. It's not going to be like some races when we come in and it's like 50 metres wide and coming in. I remember at the Tokyo Olympics, the dismount line was so wide that you could be in a big grid coming across. But this is
full peloton.
Yeah, because it's quite technical coming in, that it won't be like that.
So here we are. These women are out on the bike for the last of these 7 laps. You are tuned into the Oceania Continental Cup. This is the last Sunday of triathlon for the New Zealand summer. We've had a wonderful tri-series of 3 races back-to-back. We started in New Plymouth 2 weeks ago. Last week was Mount Maunganui. Here we are on the shores of Lake Taupo. We have... about a K to go on the bike, and then it is out onto the run, and as we had last week, it turned into a running race. Now, is this a lapped cyclist that they're coming past? I imagine so. It still looks like the white helmet of Andrea Hansen on the front of our pack. We've got 9 athletes all wheel to wheel as they come around this residential loop for the last time.
Yeah, and this transition is going to be super important. The 4th discipline of triathlon is the ability to transition from sports. And the one thing we haven't touched on yet is this is the final opportunity for athletes to put their hand up and show the selectors for the Commonwealth Games who they should be selecting. So, this is one of the races that they're looking at. They've had international racing. They had New Plymouth. That was important as far as the selection policy goes. And then they've had last weekend in Mount Maunganui and here in Taupo. That is your opportunity to go, hey, I deserve to go to Birmingham and be part of the team.
And someone like Andrea Hansen, she's got consistency. She's proved consistency, 2 seconds. But wouldn't she just love to crack a win today? 40 years old on Monday.
Competitor, that's why she's here. She's had 2 seconds. So she's been consistent throughout. We've had, Olivia had a few issues in the first one, wasn't able to finish, and then won. Yeah, we had Nicole win the first one, have a niggle knot race last week. We've had Ainsley Thorpe, who was 4th in the first race in New Plymouth. Got a penalty last week, and it would be interesting to see if she would have won that or not. So, yeah, throw a blanket over it.
All right, we're going to see them come down this Whariwaka Road hill. This is the last descent down towards T2. They're going to do that loop around the car park loop one more time. And have we got a little breakaway? Has someone made a bit of a surge up the front? It looks like it.
Yeah, someone's definitely taken the opportunity. I'm not sure if was it the lap rider from just a few minutes ago. It potentially is the lap rider, and hopefully they don't disrupt what's going on. And then it looks like it's definitely Nicole Vanderkay with the white top. I think that's a lap rider that they're catching there. So they've just pushed off to the left, which is good to see. And and it's the group coming through. And I believe, as I said, the white thermal top sort of gives it away with Nicole Vanderkay.
Now, how important will this T2 be? We saw last week the importance of making that front group of runners. We had 4 runners running stride for stride last week. 2 weeks ago, it was Nicole Vanderkay that just surged out of T2 and just ran away with it. Will we see the same this week, or will we see a big sprint finish at the end? Here they come down to that all-important dismount line for T2. Here we are in Lake Taupo. Roderick comes off in the lead. Then it's Nicole Vanderkay. Ainsley Thorpe is just behind her. Andrea Hansen is sitting in 5th place. Wow, so it's all neck and neck. Here we are in Lake Taupo, the finale of the Summer of Triathlon here in Aotearoa. They are all in T2 together, and off on the run they go. 5Ks along the shores of Lake Taupo. We've got a 2-lap course. It's pretty much flat, but Ainsley Thorpe leads them out, and there are the 2 strong runners of Nicole Vanderkay and Ava Goodison. Ava, of course, with the fastest time from last week, but you can see there straight to the front, Nicole Vanderkay, as she did in New Plymouth. Is this a sign that she has come with the same tactic of going hard off the bike and making this run as hard as possible, as early as possible?
Yeah, she I had a bit of a chat beforehand, and that was her intention. She knows she's in good run shape. She was 2 weeks ago. Niggle, haven't been able to run like she wanted to for the last couple of weeks. But it's good to show that intent. Throw down early. Don't sit and wait for a sprint. Don't wait for the likes of Olivia with her fast finish, along with Andrea's known sprint finish. Yeah, Andrea 2-3 seconds off the back there a little bit, so she's going to have to work across that group, which she does. And these amazing shots. I know this is a GoPro on the back of the cyclist, as we can see from the shadow there, but as you can see, it's a real tight course, and we can't get any motorbikes out there, and we might get some drone shots, but it's Nicole's gone out with intention of making it hard really, really early on.
Great scenes here from Lake Taupo, and don't you just want to be here going for a little stroll along that beautiful coastal walkway? It's such a wonderful place to run, bike and swim, and just a logical place for us to finish off our Summer of Triathlon here in New Zealand. So our bike camera guy is doing a great job of maintaining this pace, because he's got to be careful that he doesn't slow up.
I actually met him yesterday, and he said to me, how fast are they going to run? How fast do I have to? I said, well, I'm guessing I knew Hayden would be about 21, 22k an hour, and he's like, I'm going to have to go quite quick to keep that gap, because he's trying to look where he's going and making sure he stays in front of those girls, and he's going to have to look at the speedo to allow that to happen. And these girls are going to be running around about 18, 19 kilometre mark. I believe it was about a 16:40, I think, that 49 that Nicole ran in New Plymouth on a slightly different course, a little bit flatter today than it was there, but here, this with the cobbles and undulations, a little bit different. It looks like, I believe it's Ainsley Thorpe just sitting in behind Nicole, and once we get to turnaround, we'll see if there's any gaps back to 3rd and 4th. Ainsley's just been building into this three-race series that we've had, and she's just moving along quite nicely at the moment. So I know that was the plan from her and her coach, Bruce Hunter, just to build into it. And, they want to be hitting these international races in May and June hard and in shape. You know what I mean?
Well, you can see the sun has done its job. It's burnt off that early morning mist and cloud that we had at the start of the day. It was very crisp, around 4 or 5 degrees when I woke up this morning. But now it is t-shirt weather out there. The sun is shining. There's zero wind to speak of, as you can see. The way that the sun is just glistening off the beautiful lake here in Taupo. And that is the pathway these women are running on. They'll head off about 1.2 Ks out, 1.2 Ks back, and they'll do that twice over. We won't be able to cover the entirety of the course, but I'm sure once they come back around, we will get a sight of how this is unfolding, how this early strong pace from Nicole van der Kay is playing out. This is how she ran things in New Plymouth, where we had 4 women all close together. Now there's one of our
Olivia Cummings. So she's just going out, and we also had Angard Llewellyn. She's based out of Australia but races for New Zealand. So those two girls have ridden together. They're about 90 seconds to 2 minutes back on that front group, and they'll be out there today getting a bit more experience, trying to get some international points. They need to be within 8% of the winner today, so they're going to be running hard all the way through. And it looks like we've got Ainsley's just moved to the front this time.
So these 2 women look like they've gone clear, and man, they're moving along well as well in these early stages of the run. It's a 5K run, and so when they get back to the transition area, they will have 2.5K left to run. So does it look like Ainsley Thorpe and Nicole van der Kay running stride for stride here?
Yeah, they've got a nice little gap. I can't even see third place at the moment, but these are 2 Olympians from last year in Tokyo. They've trained a lot together the last 3 or 4 years, and know each other's strengths and weaknesses as well. So, it's really cool to see that they've gone out really, really hard, and they've got a bit of a gap at the moment on the 3rd and 4th, and we'll try and get a split in a visual when they come back to the transition area.
Now this is an important race for Ainsley, of course, because she was 4th in New Plymouth, then 3rd last week after serving that time penalty that dropped her from 1st place 100 metres from the finish line back to 3rd. So she will be wanting to improve on that 3rd place and prove to the selectors that she's certainly in that top 2 or 3 in the country. And at the moment, it is Nicole van der Kay happy to just sit in behind Olivia Thornbury, Ainsley Thorpe, who's maybe just saying, look, I want to put this beyond doubt right from the start. I want to make it hard. I don't want it to come down to a sprint like it did last week. And then it turns into a bit more of a lottery. But in wonderful sunshine, beautiful conditions, it is Ainsley Thorpe with Nicole van der Kay right on her shoulder in the sprint distance triathlon in Lake Taupo.
Yeah, very different racing tactics to last week. Last week we had that group of 4 running together. It came down to 3, and these 2 girls have gone out really, really hard. And these overhead shots, see that they've probably got about a 10 to 15 second lead on 3rd and 4th place, and then another gap of about 10 seconds back to 5th and 6th. So it looks like the figure of Andrea Hansen running in 3rd there, but we'll try and get a split as they come through, as they make their way back to the end of this first lap of 2.5 kilometres.
And the thing with Andrea Hansen is she's got experience, she's got that ability, that engine that you get from decades of doing the sport that you would expect. Sure, this is a quick start in the run from Nicole and Ainsley, but that diesel engine of a 40-year-old triathlete, one of the all-time greats of New Zealand triathlon, expect her to not let that bungee cord stretch too much. And if anyone's going to come back from this, you would expect Andrea Hansen to be able to deliver the goods.
Yeah, well, that's what she's done the last few weeks, We're a little bit slow as we get a bit older, as we go to transition. We take a while to get warmed up. I certainly do. It takes me about 3 hours to get warmed up and out of bed in the morning now. So, it looks like, they've been running, Ainsley and Nicole were just running off each other. They're just having turns on the front each and keeping the pace on. But, the race is certainly not over. And, we've got to get a visual on Andrea. We need to see where Olivia Thornbury is. We know how fast she can finish off the last portion of the run which he showed last week. But these little undulations, it's not dead flat that they're running over at the moment. It'll just be taken a little bit in and out of their legs, and we will get an exciting second lap.
So Nicole van der Kay leads from Ainsley Thorpe. These two have put in a very solid first 2.5k, and it looks like Andrea Hansen is sitting there in third, that well-known famous running style of Andrea. And
looks like Nicole was going the wrong way, and Ainsley's like, no, we go this way. So we've just they're still sitting together. As you said, it looks like we've got Andrea in third, and potentially it looks like an Ava sitting in fourth place at the moment. But the split as they go through the first lap, it's at 10 seconds back to Andrea, and then fourth place is sitting at about 15 seconds. So 10 seconds is a big gap halfway through the run, and they've said, come and get me, we're going to be racing for the top spot.
So Nicole van der Kay, Ainsley Thorpe, these are our two Olympians from last year, and they're showing that they are coming into form at this stage in their season in 2022. Nicole van der Kay in the white, Ainsley Thorpe just behind her wearing the colours of New Zealand, which most of these athletes are. But it is all stride for stride at the moment. Remember, this is a 2-lap run, so they're probably about 3k into this run, so about 2k left to run. Now, do we know the run pedigree of Ainsley Thorpe? Have these two done many standalone running races up against each other? I know Nicole's done a few track races over the summer.
Yeah, they're very evenly spaced. It's just going to come down to who's feeling best on the day. You know what I mean? How much did last week take out of Ainsley? How's Nicole's foot feeling? It's just a game of inches here, and they're definitely taken off. It's going to be hard for the likes of Andrea to get across on the second lap, and they're running off each other. They're having turns on the front. There's little ups and downs. Someone will be a little bit quicker on the uphills, some will be a little bit faster leg speed on the downhills, and it's just cool to see ladies racing here in New Zealand going hard at each other. We're starting to get a bit more depth now.
Yeah.
A bit of an issue we had going into Tokyo was that we only had a couple of girls that had enough international ranking and experience, and if we had an injury, a major injury of one of the 3 or 4 that we had, it would have been a catastrophe. We wouldn't be able to field a mixed team relay, but now we've got 4, 5, 6 girls that are starting to put their hand up and go, hey, we deserve to be on these international teams and be, flying the New Zealand flag around the world.
And what it means for you, the viewers, what it means for us here in the commentary booth is some very exciting racing. This race is far from over. There's a lot to play out over these last, mile of the run course to go now. And Nicole van der Kay is doing the work on the front. She's going to the lead. Ainsley Thorpe's just tucking in behind her. Will that make a bit of a difference in terms of the energy saving of just being able to sit in behind? But look, as you can see from your screens, it is perfect running conditions. Probably about 16, 17 degrees with 0 wind, beautiful sunshine. Nicole van der Kay's in the lead, and look at Taupo.
Oh, it's stunning.
Take a bow. What an amazing morning. What an amazing place to live, and what an amazing place to be doing triathlon.
No, we're very, very lucky to have locations like this where we can hold races. It's awesome to see, and hopefully we see another super pro series next year, 3-4 races in a row, and we can give these younger developing athletes and our experienced athletes the opportunity to race and show how they're good are. And look at the crowds that are coming out now, mate. They're all starting to make their way down to the finish line here that we can see from our commentary box.
So Nicole van der Kay has the lead, but Ainsley Thorpe is right there with her. When they hit the turnaround point, they will have 1.25 Ks left to run, and that's not long when you consider these girls will have done countless 1K reps, countless mile reps, and they'll know that they can bang out a fast kilometre or a fast mile to finish off this race. So we will be rounding the final turn and then hit that sprint towards home in this Oceania Continental Cup. This is the female elite race. The boys will head off at 15 minutes past 10 o'clock, so that's coming up shortly. But here we are. This is the turnaround point. in the lead is Nicole van der Kay ahead of Ainsley Thorpe. Ainsley Thorpe painfully missing out on the win last week, having to serve that 10-second penalty. It had to settle for third after the fourth place in New Plymouth. Nicole van der Kay took out that challenging race in New Plymouth and then sat out last weekend's race. She wants to come back and prove her dominance in the domestic sport here. But Nicole van der Kay getting right up close on the back of the cyclist now, proving that she's putting the foot down. She's realised it's 1K to go. She needs to shake off Ainsley Thorpe off her heels.
Yeah, this is awesome racing, and they're running along about 325 kilometres, so it'll be a high 16, low 17 split today by the looks of things. And they know each other well. They're going to know who's got the fastest sprint. They're going to know who's feeling well. They're going to be listening to each other's breathing, and it's going to be a good finish.
In perfect conditions here.
Are we going to get a third different winner of 3 weeks in a row?
Who knows? And don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because I did see Andrea Hansen looking pretty strong earlier as they hit the turnaround point. Is it too far? Is it too much to ask for the 40-year-old to get up over one of these girls? It might be.
Well, she's been consistent, as we said. She's going to end up on the podium most likely. But yeah, we didn't get a glimpse of where fourth is. Where's Olivia Thornberry? Where's Ava Goodison? So, it'll be interesting to see once they come back in.
So it looks to me about a 10 to 15 second back to third place, Andrea Hansen, but fourth place wasn't too far behind Andrea. And as we've seen for this last K and a half, this last mile, Nicole van der Kay is prepared to go to the front and really hammer it. She's up on her toes, looking really strong, running in this early morning sunshine here in Taupo. And at this stage, we've probably only got, 500, 600 metres left to run.
Yeah, look at the experience of Nicole. She's using the path, the whole path. She's trying to run the shortest possible route all the way through. And Ainsley's just sticking to her like, that to a blanket.
Yeah. She is running very well. She'll be hungry after that third place last week. She'll want to prove that she can win one of these things and get a win under her belt in this domestic season. Now here we'll get a good sight of whether there's been any break. There's no break.
Side by side, there's nothing in it. We've got about 90 seconds of running to go. They're going to break the 1 hour mark here today, but an awesome crowd to come out down here today, and you'll see from the overhead shot soon. But they'll be thinking about the sprint.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere because we have a big sprint finish coming from Nicole van der Kay and Ainsley Thorpe, our Olympians from last year. And here they are once again proving that they are the cream of the crop in elite triathlon here in Aotearoa. We have less than a minute left to run. It continues. Nicole van der Kay up the front. Will she be able to hang on? It's a different story from 2 weeks ago where she pulled away early in the run. This time it's going to come down to a sprint. Stephen Shelbrake's out of his seat. He's ready for a big sprint finish.
Yeah, this is a little up and downhill. You can't really see from these drone shots, but they're certainly going up and down here, and it looks like Nicole's pulled the trigger now, so it's going to be a long sprint, and we'll see how Ainsley responds to it.
Getting into the closing stages, you can see the blue carpet there. This is the finish of this Oceania Continental Cup. This is the big climax of the season, and it is neck and neck, shoulder to shoulder. Ainsley Thorpe is coming by. Nicole van der Kay is led for the last mile or so, but it will be Ainsley Thorpe after the heartbreak in Mount Maunganui. She puts the toes down. She drives the arms all the way to the finish line. She takes the win. Nicole van der Kay will settle for second place, but what a finish there from Ainsley Thorpe. It was heartbreak last week. Today it is all joy and celebration. What a well-timed finish there from Ainsley.
Yeah, really good finish. And we just see Andrea Hansen's going to come in and come third today, and about 10 seconds behind Andrea will be Ava Goodison. So another very consistent weekend from Andrea, sitting in third after 2 seconds, with Olivia sort of coming back to get near the front after the small crash last week.
Well, we've got to talk about the hunger that last week's disappointment must have left in the belly of Ainsley Thorpe, because that just looked to me like pure hunger and determination from Ainsley.
No, definitely, and she wanted that then. She wanted to put her hand up to the selectors and go, hey, don't forget about me. You should pick me again for Birmingham. As we see it looks like Olivia Thornbury just making her way through to finish in 5th place today.
And these 5 are really the ones when the selectors are looking at who to send to the comp games, who's the people to watch.
Yeah, and we've got Bria
Olivia
Roderick that's coming in as well. So she's had a very consistent 3 weeks as well. So a very good run for her as well.
And just shows how wonderful the domestic racing has been this season. We had 9 women off the bike. It quickly became 2 up the front, and it came down to the last 30 metres to separate them. But we're going to go over to an interview with Ainsley.
To be honest, when you have to stop literally 20 metres before the finish line for 10 seconds, when you're in the lead, it's pretty heartbreaking. But this week, my goal for all these 3 races was to build. With injury over summer, I knew going into New Plymouth for the start I wasn't at my best, and my goal was just to save the best to last, and that's exactly what I did today, and I'm so happy with myself.
It's been pretty amazing. I've been able to come to all 3 races, and I've seen you progress and get better and better and better, and it's a perfect time to hit some form about time you go to Europe. So you're feeling confident heading over and building into potential Commonwealth Games as well?
Yeah, exactly. I'm super lucky to have these 3 races in a row to help get some form back. It's pretty much like a hard training session for us, and just with a crowd, it's awesome to be able to just get some racing in with the lack of racing we had over summer. These 3 races helped, I think, every single athlete a lot before we head overseas.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, your champion here in Taupo. It is Ainsley Thorpe.
Well, Ainsley really expressing how motivating last weekend was, the disappointment of having to serve that time penalty. But rules are rules, and like she said, she will only do that once. You learn that lesson domestically, and that put a fire in her belly, and we got to see how powerful it is to have a bit of a fire in the belly for that last 100 metres. What a race by her and Nicole.
Yeah, she's progressed well throughout the 3 race series. She had a 4th in New Plymouth last week, a 3rd with the penalty, and then this week she's finished off strong to win. And big smile on her face. She knows that she's starting to get into form. They're here for about another month and they head off. Ainsley's going to be starting off at a race in Italy, a place called Caroli, and then 2 weeks later she'll do a World Cup in Italy as well, Oceania. And then a few weeks later we start getting into the big races, the World Series races in Leeds, and then Montreal at the end of June. So, they've had a really good summer of training. A base has been built, and now they're just starting to fine-tune it. They'll have an easier week, most of these girls now, and they'll get back into a bit of a building block before they head off to Europe and start thinking about the bigger events. And, the hardest job this week will be the New Zealand selectors, who have to sit down and decide who they want to take to Birmingham.
Yeah, and, we do have to talk about how we factor in the mixed team relay, because we've got, 5-6 girls who are looking so strong. And before we continue this discussion, let's jump over to a little interview with Nicole Vanderkate, 2nd place today.
We're here with Nicole Vanderkate, 2nd place here today. How is it out there for you, Nicole?
Oh, it's a beautiful day out there today. It was pretty cold. Not going to lie, I was a bit cold in the water and on the bike, and only just started to defrost on the run. So Taupo definitely put on a show for us.
Those blooming men, they get this nice sunshine, the lucky buggers, eh?
I know. I would have rather their time, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Now, you're going to be heading over to Europe very shortly. 1st place and 2nd place over the last few weeks. You must be pretty happy with that form.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Europe.
Hey,
it's going to be a huge year ahead. We have so many races on the cards, so looking forward to getting into some more training, then hitting some races.
Awesome. Well, congratulations and good luck over in Europe. I'm looking forward to watching you. And Nicole Vanderkate, 2nd place here today in Taupo.
All right, so the women have done their thing out on this course, the sprint distance triathlon course in Taupo. We have the men to come at 10 past 10. 10, 10:15, I should say. So go and refill your coffee, maybe put some pancakes on, and then come back here and catch the coverage. But before we do so, I have to ask you, Stephen, what factor will that mixed team relay come in? Will the team have a chance to have a little blat out, a trial race before Com Games?
No, unfortunately they don't. So, you have to allow enough time for these athletes to select and get their head around when they have to peak. They will be picking 3 men and 3 women. That's the quota we've been given from the New Zealand Olympic and Commonwealth Games Committee. So they'll pick 3 and 3, and they will do the individual race, and then after the individual race, the selectors will decide who the 2 that they want to race in the actual mixed relay in Birmingham. But we've got depth now, which is really cool, and it's a good problem to have, where selectors have to decide who they take, who's going to be best for both the individual and the mixed relay races. I wouldn't want to be a selector this week.
And a few different elements where you've got someone like Andrea Hansen that can bridge a gap on the bike and really maybe pick up some deficits, and then someone like Ava Goodison who's got great run legs and can get it done on the run. And then obviously we've got some great swimmers in there as well, and then the all-round athletes, the Nicole van der Kays and the Ainsley Thorpe. So we have great depth here in New Zealand, and what a wonderful race that we've just seen on our screens. We will be back very shortly with the Oceania Continental Cup, the elite men. Can Hayden Wild go do the three-peat, do that magic hat-trick here in New Zealand, or can the pack work out the puzzle of taking down our reigning bronze Olympic medalists? So we will be back shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Go away, fill up your coffee, get the pancakes going, and come back for some excellent action here on the shores of Lake Taupo. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lake Taupo, where the sun is shining, the temperature is warming up, and we are about to get underway with the elite men in this finale of the New Zealand Summer of Triathlon, where we've got the sprint distance, elite men and junior men ready to go off. Now, we've had a slight delay. There's been an incident from one of the public, actually had a little accident coming off a bike near the bike course, and has just meant our medical team for the race have had to get down there and help the member of the public, and which has just meant a small delay in the action. But definitely everyone down here at the race venue isn't complaining, because the weather is perfect. It's nice and sunny, beautiful autumn conditions for this Oceania Continental Cup finale, with the elite men and the junior men going together. The junior men will go 2 minutes behind the elite men. Of course, that start time needs a little bit of updating, but my name is Hayden Shem, and I'm joined in the commentary booth here by Stephen Sheldrake, Triathlon New Zealand Performance Manager. Stephen, can the pack take down Mr. Hayden Wild?
Yeah, that's the question that's been going around the race for since the last few weeks, hasn't it, really, in regards to what he did in New Plymouth. And he did that on the bike, and then last week he decided he wanted to run fast. So he sat on the back, conserved energy, and come off and ran very fast. 14:13 on an accurate 5-kilometre course. What is he going to do today? You think he's going to swim away from them?
Well, that's the last one he's got left to prove, and I'm sure that's where the boys, and yeah, we've got an update on the times, where the boys maybe want to give it to him and get out very, very hard in the swim. Now, conditions are perfectly flat. We've got beautiful water conditions. It's a 750-metre swim, and it's wetsuit, so it's all in favour of being able to hang on a set of toes and not let the pack get too far away.
Yeah, I'll be very, very surprised if there's any gap at all. So we're just going to have the announcement of the race contestants, and they'll call them out in their ranking order.
Alrighty, we're officially back now with our elite men. There's been a slight delay, but we're going to get the show on the road now, and we're going to start things off with our race officials for the day. We got Phil Daly as our technical delegate, and our head referee, Ross Capel. Now to our elite men wearing number 1. He was the winner of the New Plymouth Continental Cup last weekend, also at Mount Maunganui. He is the Olympic bronze medalist from Tokyo 2020. It's Hayden Wild. Wearing number 2, the winner of Antwerp World Cup in 2019, second place at the New Plymouth Continental Cup, we got Taylor Reid. Wearing number 3, fourth place at New Plymouth, Trent Thorpe. Wearing number 4, Saxton Morgan. Wearing number 5, he's had back-to-back podium spots here in New Zealand, and he's also the gold medalist at the 2018 Buenos Aires Youth Olympics. It's Dylan McCulloch. Jana Stuffenberg wearing number 6. Number 7, it is Lachlan Haycock. Wearing number 8, representing the Czech Republic, is David Martin. Wearing number 9, representing Canada, Josiah Ney. Wearing number 10, James Corbett. Wearing number 11 is Austin Carter. Wearing number 12, Sam Parry. Wearing number 14, Oliver Larkham. Wearing number 15, Ivan Abel. Wearing number 16, Gus Marfell. Wearing number 17, Christian Davey. Wearing number 18 is Luke Scott. And last but not least, wearing number 19 is William Taylor.
So there we are. There's our field in this elite men's Oceania Continental Cup They're all lined up there on the beach here at Lake Taupo at 3 Mile Bay, and they are off. Now, this is where, if you're ever going to get a break on Hayden Wild, this is where it all needs to happen here in the swim leg. You can see the arms and legs are going for it in beautiful conditions. There's nothing more than you'd want to be doing than getting out in the water here on Lake Taupo with this men's field. Good field of 19 athletes all lined up, and we've had wonderful racing over the last 2 weeks. Now, a reminder of how things have played out over those last 2 weeks. Hayden Wild took it out on the bike in New Plymouth in the wind and the hills. Then in Mount Maunganui, he saved it for the run and ran that blistering low 14s 5K to take out that win. Here, well, it might be a complete triathlon performance where he will potentially look to break things apart on the bike with this more technical bike course. But as you can see, Stephen Sheldrake, wouldn't you just love to be out there with the wetsuit on and swimming in that water?
Oh, definitely stunning. I definitely have a wetsuit on. It's a bit fresh from my liking. 17 degrees, as we said in the ladies' commentary. If it's under 20, it is wetsuit optional. If it's over 20, they're not allowed to wear a wetsuit. So yeah, just trying to get a bit of a visual in regards to who that is. It potentially looks like it's a Taylor Reid. He races in a blue 70 wetsuit. Expect to see him, the likes of Trent Thorpe and Dylan McCulloch up the front there, and then racing in an orca suit will be Hayden, and it looks like he's just on the right hand side of that group on the way out to that first buoy. But you know, I mean, he's had a very good summer working on his swimming, and you know, the biggest gap that they've had is they even had a gap, have they? You know, I mean, last week was about 6 seconds, and that was closed in transition. And the week before in New Plymouth, he went out the transition second. So he's definitely become an all-round athlete. And you can just see him on the bottom of the screen there on the right-hand side. He's got that orca wetsuit, and he's right in contention, sitting about 6th or 7th. As we see the junior men starting, they've just started just under 2 minutes after them. Looks like there's a field of about 8 or 9, and yeah, they're going to be racing around just behind the elite men today.
So in the field for the junior men, we've got Ryan Nelson, Jacob Darth, Luke Kugelheim, Ben Erie, Dean Woolwork, Reeve Dooney, Lucas Reed, Gus Marfell, Alex Brackenberry. So a few of the juniors from last week, the likes of Oliver Larkham, Sam Parry, are stepping up into the race with the big boys. So good to see them taking on that challenge, and look at them heading out into this blue water of Lake Taupo. So a little bit of an arrowhead forming there, maybe one athlete just getting stranded off the back, but it looks like it's most likely being led out there by Taylor Reid out into the waters of Lake Taupo. So 750 metre swim, then they'll come out onto the bike where it's 20 Ks on the bike, 7 laps of a technical course, and then the 5K to finish along the shores of the lake here. So we've got a nice little streamlined array of swimmers.
Yeah, it's definitely Taylor Reid on the back. I believe it looks like it's Trent Thorpe sitting in 2nd place, and in 3rd place in that hoop wetsuit, I think it's Dylan McCulloch. Just saw them getting ready before the race, and he just picked them out by the types of wetsuits that they're wearing. And then yeah, it's a bit more stretched out than it has been for the last few weeks. That sort of one step into the water and no diet running has sort of made it a pure swimming race, I suppose. Yeah. A pure 750 of swimming with not much duck diving or wading. So good for the swimmers this week. And as we said a number of times in the ladies' commentary, you know, 3 different courses, you know, potentially 3 different outcomes in regards to how the swim may go. You know, you'd be a brave man to bet against Hayden Wild in the final race, but anything can happen. And the extra thing they've had to add to today is that they've had a 35-minute delay. What did they do? Did they sit around in the sun? Did they get some more food into them? Did they continue to do a swim warm-up? Did they get nervous? You know, so, you know, just another element. I just went for a bit of a walk around. As a coach, you sort of like to observe what people did. And, you know, and when you debrief, you can talk about what did you do to deal with this half-hour delay.
So we're on cars for a very quick swim in just perfect conditions. You can see just some ripples coming through from a boat that went past. but it looks like maybe we've got a little break as these boys are just mixing things up. We saw Hayden Wild wearing the black and red wetsuit. He had to go wider around a couple of those boys, and maybe we've got 3 swimmers running clear. And could this be a little break that will come to fruition as they hit the last buoy? Then they'll turn that left hand turn towards the lake shore, but a definite break here in Lake Taupo after 3 weeks of action, which has been dictated to, ruled by Hayden Wild. Could we see some of the more purebred swimmers dictate the early stages of this race and make Hayden do a bit more of the chasing later?
Yeah, they've got a nice little gap. They all got around that last buoy by themselves in free space and free water. They weren't fighting. You would have seen about the 6th or 7th swimmer that sort of quite a few of them hit that buoy mark together, and they lost a second or two, and it's just allowed that group of 3 just to pull away. And over this last 250, 300 metres, it'd be interesting to see if these front 3 swimmers decide to keep the pace on. A slight lapse in concentration, and they can all come back together. But on paper, these 3 swimmers are world class. Any World Series races, they're up near the front. And, I know they talked about it leading into New Plymouth. It's like, how can we get away from Hayden? He's the premier #1 athlete. And it didn't come to fruition because Hayden has been swimming unbelievable, and he nullified that with a swim. So, we'll try and get an overhead shot and see who is that leading that second pack, if we want to call it. And, if they want this gap to stick, they're going to have to ride together smartly as a group of 3, and they need to do it right from the very beginning. They can't hesitate, because the bike ability of Hayden will just ride himself back up there, and it won't matter how big that group of 3 is and how strong they are.
So around about 200 metres, maybe 150 metres left to swim in this Oceania Continental Cup. This is the elite men you can see on screen here in Lake Taupo. This is the finale of what has been a wonderful tri-series of 3 events dotted round the North Island of Aotearoa. We started with New Plymouth, and it was windy, and we had a good, tough, hilly course. And then we went to Mount Maunganui, where it was a completely different story. Nice and still, flat, fast course. And today we have those perfectly still conditions once more. But we've got a very technical bike course that is going to certainly lead to some attacking, certainly lead to some tactics on the bike. 3 swimmers have a small break over the pack. They're struggling to just pull away and maybe get a few seconds advantage, which maybe could lead to a pack bursting away on the bike. But here they come. They will soon feel the sand on their fingertips. They'll be able to see the bottom very clearly, so that helps in gauging that distance as they come towards the finish of this swim leg.
Yeah, and I would say over the last 3 weeks, this is the first time we've seen the pace on from the very beginning, and this is why this gap's created. But, the very first week we had a 2-lap swim, so there's a lot of waiting and duck diving, and then to redo it again, and the not-so-strong swimmers had the ability to close the gap. Last week, again, a bit of a wade into the beach at Mount Maunganui that allowed the sort of weaker, I suppose what we call the weaker swimmers, to get near the front. But today we've got a pure 750-metre swim, as we see Taylor Reid just porpoising. Alongside him will be Dylan McCulloch and a Trent Thorpe, and they're going to have to work as a team to keep away from Hayden. But a very fast swim. Look at this, we've sort of got 8:20 on the clock, and so they haven't mucked around, and it's not far back to the next group. So we'll try and get a split, and they're going to have to work this T1 very, very quickly.
Great example of that porpoise diving coming in through the shallow water. So the swim leg is done for these 3 boys. How much of a gap will they have? Will it be decisive as they get out onto the bike, or will it be quickly nullified in that first lap? There's probably, 6-7 seconds separating those top 3 with the pack. Now, the all-important wetsuit that we need to see come out of the water is that red and black wetsuit of Hayden Wild. Is there going to be a gap? Will there be an advantage of the pack over the man himself, Hayden Wild, the reigning bronze medalist from the Olympic Games last year? I see him come into T1. He's probably got a 10-second deficit from the leaders, and it is Taylor Reid, Dylan McCulloch and Trent Thorpe are onto the bike, out onto the pedals. Can they make use of this small advantage that they have. Can they work together, get their feet in their shoes, work up this hill onto Whariwaka Road and really push away? Let's have a look. This is a good way to start the bike as they go straight up onto this little pinchy hill. And could this be an opportunity to get a break on Hayden Wild and make it stick?
Yeah, if there's any opportunity, today is that opportunity. You know, Hayden was allowed down and probably about an extra 5-10 seconds than he has been on last weekend. But you'll see that, you know, Taylor Reid's just got a bit of a gap. He'll be looking back to see, you know, his training partners out of Cambridge, Thorpe and Dylan McCulloch. And then there's another group of two that includes Saxon Morgan out of Christchurch, and I believe it may have been Josiah Nay, who's racing for Canada today, who's based out of Tauranga, trying to get across and then, you know, look for the fast-moving Hayden. He doesn't need anyone. He won't be looking for help from anyone. He'll just go after it by himself, and it's going to have to take a massive effort from those front guys to keep away from him, because we know of his bike ability. You know what I mean? And it gets to the run, it's like, well, you're racing for second if you're allowed to get on. But it looks like we've got a group of 5. They need to talk to each other. There needs to be a leader in the group. They need to say to each other, if we want to all do well, we want to keep the faster runners away. And that includes the likes of Janus Stauffenberg, who had an amazing run last week at 14:43. And, you know, he's in good shape. He's out here to show to the selectors that he wants to be selected for the Commonwealth Games.
So like we had in the women's race, there's a lot of those boys who are finishing 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th in Taranaki and then again in Mount Maunganui, who will want to be performing well today. The likes of Taylor Reid, 2nd last week, 2nd in Taranaki, 4th last week. Trent Thorpe, 4th in Taranaki, 5th at the Mount. Dylan McCulloch, 2 3rds. So could we see him move up into maybe a 2nd position today? So 5 athletes are out on the bike together, and then it's about a 10-second gap back to another 5 athletes. We'll be able to give you an update on exactly who those athletes are shortly, but they're going around this lovely course that's been laid out for them here in Taupo. This is the residential portion of the course, and then they swing down onto that car park area that you can see here at the reserve at 3 Mile Bay. You can see the transition area and swim start in the distance, and they're the beautiful scenes of Lake Taupo.
Yeah, I just saw that one rider off the back just hit that corner on the right-hand side. He's in the no man's land, and then there's a group of about 3 or 4 trying to get across to that front group. So we'll get a visual as they come down to start that 2nd lap and see what it is. But it looked like about an 8 to 9 second gap to that one rider.
Now, could that one rider be Hayden Wild? I wouldn't bet against it. You would think, like Andrea Hansen did on the first lap, you'd think he would be the one to try and bridge any gap up to that front pack. So it's 20 k's on the bike, which is 7 laps of this technical course. So there's loads of corners, loads of little tight turns. There is a nice pinchy hill. This is the one that they're coming down. So this is where they can really roll out onto this car park loop. So 5 athletes leading the way. You can see, is that the Czech colours of David Martin?
Highly likely, very strong cyclist. He'll be enjoying this course. He loves to go off the front and work hard. But we're going to have Taylor Reid, we're going to have Dylan McCulloch, Trent Thorpe, David Martin, and I believe it will be Saxon Morgan has made that gap, and then it looks like a fast charging Hayden Wild trying to get across to that group early on. But you'll see, yeah, there's Taylor Reid with the yellow shoes on the front, and there's someone coming forward now. I believe that's Saxon Morgan. But, you know, they need to be talking to each other. There's not much opportunities around this little bit here to pass each other, and then they'll make their way back up the hill to start that 2nd lap.
Wonderful scenes here out on the bike leg in this finale of the summer. Well, it's been an autumn of triathlon here in Aotearoa, and there is one cyclist who is making very, very fast inroads on this pack. Surely that is Hayden Wild.
Yeah, it's definitely Hayden. He's got that ability on the bike. And, like, what's he going to do this week? Is he going to sit on? Is he going to go to the front and try and drop them?
He only knows one way. Last week he was under coach's orders to not push the bike too hard and instead focus on the run, and we saw him doing a few attacks on the bike regardless. So it's in his DNA. He is a racer at heart, and I'm sure he'll be looking at this course that is just the perfect playground for a triathlete in terms of being able to push these corners hard, push these hills hard up Whariwaka Road, and then you can see there's really not many straights where you can just put the head down and go for it. There's surging, there's corners, there's tactics, and immediately someone's gone to the front.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Hayden. Yeah, they need to hold his wheel today because it advantages them to keep them away from the Giannis's and the faster runners that are behind, and particularly Giannis. He ran very, very well last week. He showed that he's the second fastest runner. You got Dylan McCulloch, who's in great shape. He's had 2 third places over the last 2 weekends. He's been that consistent, that sort of Andrea Hansen of the boys group. And then, Taylor Reid had a second in New Plymouth, followed by a 4th place last week. So, yeah.
This is a lap rider coming up here shortly. But so we've got 6 riders together, and then it's a pack of 4 athletes behind them.
They were about 23, 24 seconds down last time. So, yeah, we'll get a split on it when they come around. We had girls going around in about 4:28, I think they were last time. I think these boys will probably be going around in about that 4-minute mark. So, yeah, let's see how fast it is, whether it's up and down, whether it's tactical. But it is to the benefit of all those riders at the front to keep the pace rich and stay up there.
So you can see how technical this is. A lot of corners, not too many passing opportunities. So that will lead to some big surges at the back of this small pack of cyclists as we come round for the 2nd time down towards this car park loop.
Yeah, awesome course today. Big thank you to all the local residents allowing us to use their roads today and be out there and showcasing this sport of ours.
Yeah, it's cool to have
perfect conditions, eh?
Yeah, have great conditions and have a nice new course. Obviously, like Taupo is known for the Ironman annually here in March. Also lining up a potential 70.3 Worlds next year. And then Kinloch is the other location that we usually have triathlon when we're in this part of the world.
Who have we got going off the front here? Looks like is it a blue bike? I'm colourblind, mate, so I'm the last person to talk about colour.
It's definitely blue, and it looks like
it'll be Dylan
McCulloch. 5.
Yeah, Dylan McCulloch, and it's a blue bike.
Now, we did have 6 athletes not so long ago, so I don't know what's happened to that 6th athlete.
Yeah, potentially it's been a mechanical. We'll try and figure out who it is.
But look at these beautiful scenes here in Taupo. We've got 5 athletes and not yet any sign of that 6th athlete. But we've got Dylan McCulloch in there. Well, that top 6 at last check was Taylor Reid, Trent Thorpe, Saxon Morgan, Dylan McCulloch and David Martin. And, of course, Hayden Wild had bridged up to it. We'll try and get an update on what's going on with this top 6 and what's happened to our 6th rider.
Yeah, so they went around in 4:04 for that one. So that's our benchmark in regards to how fast they're going around. As they catch a few of the lapped riders. They're not actually lapped. They actually may have been the junior men who started 2 minutes after them. They're going around at 4 minutes. You know, there's much time to go around. So yeah, they're sort of sitting together. It looks like they're not making it too hard up the hill there. No one's trying to force the pace. But yeah, we'll try and figure out who is the rider that has been... I don't believe they've been dropped. I think they've had a mechanical because they're not sitting 100, 200 metres off the back.
So hopefully that athlete's okay, but it is the realities of any bike race. Sometimes the body's good, but the bike has some issues.
Yeah.
And here we are back onto this residential loop. That's a great sign of one of the only straights on the course. So they head along Teti Street and then they swing a right onto Kohatu Street as they round back towards 3 Mile Bay. Wonderful scenes. Look at the Mount Ruapehu, Mount Narahoe, Mount Taranaki, Mount Tongariro in the back, and the lake is just turned it on. Well done, Taupo. You missed out on the Ironman, but you've definitely turned it on for us today.
Yeah,
So,
you couldn't ask for better conditions. Amazing. The girls are all telling me after their race before that they were jealous that the boys got to start a little bit later in the sunshine, but then they had a delayed start and they're like, oh no, we're happy to get our race out of the way now. So
I'm sure the girls will be loving just grabbing a coffee and a bite to eat and just kicking back, shorts and t-shirt weather, and watching this race unfold. So we've got 5 athletes all together up the front. We've lost one athlete. We'll try and get an update on exactly who that is, but we know that David Martin is in this little group because he's the only one not wearing the New Zealand colours.
you got good eyesight, mate. I can't even see that far.
Admittedly, I'm just going on memory on that one. So after that early swim where we had those 3 swimmers pulling a few seconds clear, and then we had a pack back of about another 3 and then another 4 behind them. It quickly turned into 2 packs of 5 or 6, and with Hayden Wild bridging up to that front pack to make that front pack 6, and we have lost 1 athlete off the back of that pack, and that looks like, is that the second
That's
pack
the second
on the road?
pack. Looks about 7 or 8 of them, and we're expecting to see the likes of Austin Carter, I'd say Josiah Nay, potentially James Corbett, Lachlan Haycock, but I'm going to jump out of here real quick and get a visual on who it is, and then we can tell you.
Good stuff. Thank you. Yeah, it looks like it is David Martin in that pack, and potentially Taylor Reid in there. So we will get an update from Stephen Sheldrake, who's running out onto the course to get a visual on where things are at. But here they go into Car Park Loop. This is on the picnic area here at 3 Mile Bay. Wonderful, wonderful place to stop if you're ever passing through on your way through the North Island and you want to stop and have a little dip, have a bite to eat by the lake. This is always a great spot to pull into. And you can see the weather here in Taupo has turned it on after a brisk start. The course was shrouded in mist and fog earlier, and that's all been burnt off. And now we have wonderful late summer conditions here in the central North Island. 5 athletes wheel to wheel as they head up for the 3rd time up this hill on Whariwaka. And Stephen Sheldrake just coming back into the booth now to give us an update. How are we looking out there, Stephen, and who have we lost?
Oh, it's still, I couldn't get close enough, but it potentially is it Saxon Morgan that's not there. Hayden definitely trying to make a move up that hill there, but they're well aware waiting. Talking to the lad, to both Taylor and Dylan in New Plymouth, Dylan said he struggled a little bit on the technical bits that came in there and round behind transition.
Right.
So you've noticed that Dylan's leading on the downhills here. He's got to the front and he's dictating the speed that to go in and around. So, you know, he's positioning himself well there. Hayden is driving it and trying to use his strength to get up the hill, but they've still got a good gap to the rest of that chasing bunch of about 8 or 9. It was about 26 seconds after the second lap, so we'll try and get a split on it this time. But yeah, it was hard to get a visual. They're going past so fast, but Hayden was definitely there. Dylan was definitely there. I believe Taylor was there. I believe it's Trent Thorpe or Saxon Morgan that potentially has had a mechanical.
All right, so we're about halfway through now, 3.5 laps down of the 7-lap bike course, and that means we've got about 10k left to ride and 5k left to run in the New Zealand Summer of Triathlon. It is 5 athletes wheel to wheel as they go around these beautiful residential suburbs of Taupo here in 3 Mile Bay. What a wonderful place to live, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you love one of these lakeside properties?
Mate, I wouldn't mind. Yeah, Batch would be nice.
Yes,
definitely.
And here they come, so through these little chicane sections, and this will be one of either the juniors or potentially a laps athlete.
It's one of the juniors that started 2 minutes after. I think it's Alex Brackenbury. So, yeah, good on him. He's looked back. He knows there's coming. He's just pulled over the left so he doesn't interfere with their race, and then he'll get onto his own race. So he's not allowed to jump onto the back of that group because it's a completely different race. But, yeah, these boys are pushing it pretty hard and riding around in just over 4 minutes a lap. So What's this, mate? They're coming back to finish lap number 3?
This will be number 4. So
Okay.
they'll have 3 to go after this one.
Okay, so about 12 minutes of riding post this, and then, we're going to see a sub 14:30 run this week like we did last week.
Who knows? I wouldn't count it out. That was one of the fastest sprint triathlon run legs that we've ever seen. Not just by Kiwi, but globally. You know,
For sure,
it's
definitely.
right up there, isn't it?
I was listening to a podcast this week. Guy Shane Hooks runs a podcast, and he didn't believe that the times that they were running were legit. And maybe we're questioning our research skills, but we need to look into it. It's definitely one of the fastest times, and it's definitely a legit course, given that Hayden ran about 15k with a GPS beforehand because he had a plan in place that he wanted to execute.
And look, when you've got a guy who can run 13:20 something fresh, you wouldn't discount him being able to run in the low 14s off the bike and off an easier bike.
Yeah, and we often discuss that our elite athletes should be within about 30 seconds of their PB fresh versus a PB off a bike.
Right.
So, given that he'd ran 13:40-ish, 43 95s not long ago, 30 seconds slow at 14:13 is probably an accurate estimate.
So here we go. This is their 4th lap, done and dusted, as they come round these beautiful lakefront roads here in Lake Taupo. We've got 5 athletes continue to be wheel to wheel, side by side, attacking these corners, attacking these little hills. This is the one major hill on the course as they come up Whariwaka Road. So it continues. Dylan McCulloch up the front. We haven't seen a lot of Hayden Wild at the front. Is that Hayden with the black helmet at the back? I believe it is.
Yeah, I think it may be.
So is that just a sign that potentially he's saving himself for later on? He just jumps on the
word
pedals
in the air and he's like, Hayden Sherman's saying I'm not riding very hard, so I'm going to tack it.
Look at
this. This is the steep bit of it. Like this screenshot doesn't do it justice, but I think they're onto him this week. They're aware that he's going to hit them on the hard bits, and he's going to try and get away. And I think they're onto it this week, and they're going to get on the Hayden Wild Express, and keep that gap from those the likes of Janis, Struffenberg, and the faster runners behind.
So these 5 athletes keeping that other pack clear at the moment, and they disappear into the residential streets of 3 Mile Bay. They have done 4 laps. This is their 5th, and then they'll have 2 more to go on the bike to complete this 20k bike leg. And then, of course, sprint triathlon. It's just a 5k sprint along the shores of the lake here. It was such a beautiful course that we saw in the women's race. Came down to a absolutely electric sprint finish, and if you didn't watch that this morning, be sure to, once this race is over, go back and have a rewatch of that women's race. I won't give away the winner if you do want to do that, but what a finish that was. As it's been all these last 3 weeks, it's just been such electric racing from the women. The men have been dominated by one name in particular, Hayden Wild, but at the moment the pack of 4 riders is keeping Hayden Wild in check.
Yeah, he's definitely the one with the target on the back. He's in great shape. He's he'll be using these races before he heads off to Europe. I believe he's going to start off in Singapore at the Arena Games final, and then the weekend after that he'll be in Yokohama at the first WTA series of the year. So yeah, that's not far away. He'll be heading off soon and starting his international campaign and building, no doubt, towards his first peak, which will be the Birmingham Games. And he's to be selected, but I'm pretty sure he will be. And and try and win another international medal to go alongside that bronze he won in Tokyo last year. And and we've also got the MTR. And we remember back to 2018, we got the bronze medal there in the MTR. So that was probably the start of the resurgence of triathlon and elite performances post the heydays of the Beckman Dohertys and the Hamish Carters winning medals. And it's good to see depth starting to come through now, and but they need these opportunities. They need these races to just learn these skills, so when they go overseas they can race with the big boys and girls. And we actually got a slight problem at the moment. We've got so many athletes wanting to go and race in Europe this year that they need good points to get starts, and that's part of the benefit of doing these races. And Triathlon New Zealand realised this, and they invested some money into the series, so it gave our athletes a chance to get international points so they can get starts overseas.
And what a treat for us at home, watching all this action, being able to see just world-class triathlon here on our shores. And after the last couple of years of disruption with the pandemic, it's just wonderful to have this racing and be able to see these men and women put on absolute masterclasses in triathlon performances. And here we come. This will be the finish of lap number 5. So 2 laps still to run. Can this pack be pulled apart, or will it stay this way and become a running race? Can they put some pressure on Hayden, maybe take some of his sting out of his run?
Yeah, you just saw that second group now. So they're getting a visual. So this group here up the front has done the full car park loop, as we're calling it. So I'm guessing it's probably in the vicinity of 35 seconds now. And is that black helmet going to make another move off the back, just as we said last time? But no, it looks like we've got... they're riding well together, you know what I mean? They sort of realise that they've got a good gap now, and it's going to come down to a run race of those first of that first group, as we see the second group of about 8 athletes there. Likely in that group is to be Lachlan Haycock, Janus Stauffenberg, Josiah Ney, Austin Carter. We may see the young Sam Parry, who did very well last week, Oliver Lacombe, 2 of the under-19 athletes who did their qualifier for the Worlds last weekend in Mount Maunganui, and have decided, right, I want to step up with the big boys, learn off them, see where I'm at, and go, throw down with them.
All right, here they are onto that residential circuit, onto the only significantly straight portion of this course, as they head out along Teti Street, and then they'll swing a right onto Kohatu Parade. And once again, we're treated to Lake Taupo in all its glory. This region doing its best to lure the viewers to come and visit this region. And
they put on a stunning day, and it's credit to the organisers, credit to Chanel Barrett for she told me yesterday that she thought of this course about 2 or 3 years ago, but hasn't had the opportunity because of the pandemic to put it on. And the feedback after the ladies' race was that cool course, wicked, something different, and I'm sure we're going to be back here again in the future.
Wonderful course, wonderful bunch of athletes, and what a race we have on our hands. There's one more lap after this one to go on the bike, and then it's 5K to go, and expect that run to start very, very fast indeed. And last week we saw 3 athletes go into 15 minutes. I'm sure it'll take something under 15 minutes to win this one, as they come around for the second to last time towards the transition area here at 3 Mile Bay.
Yeah, that's definitely going to take a sub 14:30 to win this race today. So that's a jog for Hayden, really, isn't it? Slightly different course this week. You know what I mean? It's the surface with the cobbles here along the lakefront slightly different with their footing, slight ups and downs. We may have a few spectators out on the course. They have to navigate their way around and things like that. But I'm sure it's going to be very, very quick. And 2 laps, so 1.25 out, 1.25 back times 2. And on this last lap, when they start that last lap of the ride, you'll start seeing them jockeying for position, a bit like the ladies did, to be on the front on the downhill, and then coming into T2 near the front.
All right, 5 athletes together, as it has been for 6 laps now on the bike. We lost one athlete after about 1.5 laps. I'm not sure what happened to that athlete, but it is these 5 of Hayden Wild, Taylor Reid, Dylan McCulloch, David Martin, and then we're unsure whether it's Trent Thorpe or Saxon Morgan on that pack, so apologies that we can't bring the exact updates on that leading pack. But here they are coming round for the second to last time round the car park loop. Then they will do the final climb up Whariwaka. And is this a potential opportunity for a little break? You've got to think it's the last opportunity to get any sort of a lead on this bike leg. And just going past that chasing pack of about 8 or 9 athletes who are all working very well together. But it looks like Hayden Wild's more than happy to just sit at the back, and looks to me like there's no particular urgency going up Whariwaka on this occasion.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit early to go towards the front because he's stuck there keeping the pace on all the time. And it was one of the learnings Taylor Reid told me last week, is that he left it too late to get to near the front of the bunch coming into T2, and probably burnt a few too many matches for the start of the run. So, it'd be interesting that he puts that learning into practice this week, and just doesn't, use so much energy to get to the front. So, it's very, very tight, very different to last week. We had a big wide road coming into T2. It's a very narrow area, and, every second you can save in transition is, a further 10 metres up the road, isn't it?
This is the chase pack, and we know that we've got the likes of Jonas Stauffenberg in this pack, who ran well under 15 minutes last week to pick up that second place. He had a wonderful run, coming second behind Hayden Wild in Mount Maunganui. He will have a lot of work to do to get up into the top 5 today, but don't discount him edging up close to those top 3, because we know he's got the run legs. But these 5 are controlling the race at the moment. Hayden Wild is at the back of that pack wearing the black helmet, and then we've got David Martin, we've got Taylor Reid in there, we've got Dylan McCulloch.
Yeah, it's, I think it's Trent Thorpe in second, and it's obviously Taylor in third, and then we've got Dylan, and then, as you said, Hayden sitting on the back. And watch them dive bombing in the last K or so. Don't be surprised if they start taking a few risks just to get to the front before that downhill, because it's going to be very hard to get past each other on the downhill and around this car park into transition. So you've seen David, he's on the front, he's looking over that right shoulder, waiting for any moves.
Great racing here in Taupo. 7 laps on the bike. This is the 7th one, which means we are about to enter that transition area that we had on screen moments earlier. So T2 awaits. This is the final transition of the summer of triathlon here in Aotearoa. It's all coming down to this. Can Hayden Wild do the 3-peat? Can one of the other boys mix it up and take down the bronze medalist? Could we see a mix-up in the medals from previous races? The likes of Dylan McCulloch, he's come third twice. Can he add a second to this tri-series of races? Can Taylor Reid reclaim that second place or go one better that he had in New Plymouth? We will have to wait and see. They're coming down this hill into Whariwaka Road very soon.
There we go, as we get a shot on the top of the screen as the chase pack is coming down. But the pace is definitely on now, and you watch the speed that they go through this transition and out of transition.
Now it's going to be important that we get a good split at T2 back to that chase pack, because there's some good runners in that chase pack who will want to try and hunt down some of this top 5 here.
Yeah,
and
they'll definitely
it's certainly turning into a running race.
Yeah, it looks like Dylan, Hayden's happy just to sit on the back this time and just go out. He knows he's got that pure run speed. He is 30 seconds faster than these guys on paper. So, he'll be playing it safe as well. He's got some big races coming up, and, he's got that weapon of a strength. And I don't know, to me it looks like it's the yellow shoes of Taylor Reid that's on the front of that group there at the moment. Or is that David Martin still?
So here they come into T2. This is the final transition of the summer here in Aotearoa. Hayden Wild making a bit of a surge to make sure he's right up near the front. And we are pressing the stopwatches because we need to get a split back to the chasing pack. It's 5 athletes coming in all together. We've got Trent Thorpe, we've got Dylan McCulloch, we've got Taylor Reid, we've got Hayden Wild, we've got David Martin, and they are off on the run. Can they hold off the challenge of the Olympic bronze medalist in Hayden Wild? Well, the transition goes to David Martin and Taylor Reid. They're first out of the blocks. They are out on the run course, this beautiful run course along the lakefront here in Lake Taupo. We have
David Martin definitely, he led in, led out, did the Taylor, a little bit of a gap back to Hayden, but as we see the second pack coming in now, 45 seconds down, there has Haycock, Strassenberg, Parry, Austin Carter, Josiah Ney, Ivan Abel out of Taupo, and James Corbett out of Cambridge, all coming in. So 45 seconds. What sort of run speed are we going to get at Giannis today? Can he run down to a few of those athletes up the front? But, they've worked well together. They've nullified what could potentially be a minute gap, and they're going to go try and get some athletes up the road on them.
So the triathletes are out onto the final discipline of the sprint triathlon, and it's Taylor Reid who's moved to the front after David Martin won T2 and got out there nice and strong. But Taylor Reid, he's come in here with a lot of intent. He was disappointed with that 4th place last weekend, but he wants to make this run honest right from the start and hopefully get a bit of distance between him and Hayden Wild. So Taylor Reid looking very strong on this undulating run course.
Yeah, he was definitely angry after last week, and he was off a little bit, not heaps and heaps, and we had a good chat this week about things in regards to what he learnt from last week and what he could do differently. And this is the end of the New Zealand summer season. Let's throw down today. We've got to easy a couple of weeks and see what we can do, but look at the pure speed of Hayden Wild now.
Here he comes. Here's your reigning Olympic bronze medalist, reigning Xterra world champion, second in the Super League last year. He's an absolutely world-class athlete, and we're seeing him take it to the best of New Zealand. He's won twice in a row. Can he complete the hat-trick? Well, he's just found himself in the lead. He needs to stay there to complete that magic hat-trick. But these boys will be chasing him, attaching that bungee cord to him, hoping that it doesn't stretch, hoping that it doesn't snap. Here he goes. He is the absolute cream of the crop of New Zealand triathlon right now. And how good is it to see these beautiful scenes on screen and to see just brilliant triathlon racing here in Taupo.
Oh, he's gone out really hard, and I feel for the lead cameraman. Look at the pressure on him. He's looking down going, is this guy going to let up and give me a gap? But, Hayden has moved to the front. He's already got a gap of about 6-7 seconds back to Taylor Reid, and then it's the likes of Trent Thorpe, Dylan McCulloch, will be sitting in 3rd and 4th place. Yeah, it looks like Saxon's had a mechanical today, so not the way he's going to want to finish off the summer of racing, but yeah, he's got a few international races coming up we can get ready for.
Now, although Hayden Wilds looks like he's pulling clear, and you would think this will be a decisive move in the first kilometre of this run course, there's a lot to play for these boys behind. We talked about New Plymouth being the key selection race, looking towards the Com Games. Now, second place behind Hayden Wild in that race was Taylor Reid, so he certainly put his hand up as one of the key contenders. Yeah. And then Dylan McCulloch came in 3rd. But then there's a lot of boys behind them after New Plymouth who wanted to prove a point going into Mount Maunganui, and in particular Giannis Stauffenberg improved his 5th place at New Plymouth to a 2nd place with a storming run. Now, can he make up a 45-second deficit and get back into that top 3 and send a good signal to the selectors? Looking forward to the Com Games. And then Taylor Reid finished 4th last week. He's got himself into a good position already in 2nd place. Can he hang on to that and really solidify that place as the number 2 man behind Hayden Wild? So a lot to play for, a lot of plots to unfold over these final 3 and a bit kilometres. But here in the beautiful sunshine is Hayden Wild, the man of the moment.
Yeah, as we said in the earlier broadcast, the ladies, it's you wouldn't want to be the selectors this week. Another difficult situation in regards to depth. We've got depth to choose from now, and you would suggest that Hayden's definitely got one, and Taylor Reid's put his hand up quite high based off his international results last year and is 2nd to Hayden New Plymouth. But you know what I mean? We've still got last weekend's results and today's results for the selectors to consider, and this man on screen is definitely going, and it's just who's going to make up the rest of the team.
Here he goes, Hayden Wild, reigning Olympic medalist. Great to have a reigning Olympic medalist back in New Zealand colours, back racing at home along what is just picture-perfect conditions. There's there's nothing else you'd want to be doing if you were down here in Taupo than swimming, biking or running in these beautiful surrounds. And so Hayden Wild right now will just be in his element. Like,
Oh, it is.
are you kidding? This is my job.
Look at this. But look at the spectators. Free viewing. They just walk out the door and they've seen some of the best athletes in the world racing on the waterfront in this amazing location here in New Zealand. So
good. Absolutely loving it. And I hope you all at home are loving this coverage of triathlon here in New Zealand. This is the final event of the Aotearoa Summer of Triathlon. Well, it's been an autumn of triathlon with 3 events being squeezed into the summer to give our athletes a chance to earn points and put up their hand for qualification for the Commonwealth Games, which will be the major focus for a lot of these athletes. And I'm sure Hayden Wild will be targeting that one, another potential for a medal on the global stage. And as you said, that cyclist will be having to hammer away at those pedals at 23 k's an hour.
He was quite nervous yesterday when we were talking about speeds. He's like, oh, do I have to go that fast? So he was there this morning getting his wheat bix in and limbering up and getting ready for it. So no, it's not. We're not far away from Hayden making his turn here at halfway, and we'll be interesting. It doesn't look like he's got the urgency that he had last week in regards to that 14:13 pace, but he's done what he needs to do now, and it'll just be a matter of holding on. And I won't be surprised if we see a few high fives, and as he runs that second lap.
So we'll need to get a split on this as Hayden Wild comes into the halfway mark here in the sprint triathlon in Taupo. It looks like Taylor Reid still holding on to that second place at the moment, but Hayden Wild has solidified his place as the number 1 triathlete so far in this race once more, as he has in New Plymouth and once again in Mount Maunganui. He's doing the same thing here in Taupo. Taylor Reid is in second place.
14 seconds down to Taylor Reid. In third place, it looks like it's Trent Thorpe or Dylan McCulloch. Look like Dylan McCulloch went through about 10 seconds after him, and Trent Thorpe going through in 4th place at the moment, and he's at 35 seconds. So the split we're looking for is that second group. Have they made up any time? Has the Giannis's of the world and the group that came in second made up any of that 45-second deficit that they had? I doubt they've made any time on the likes of Hayden Wild, but they potentially have taken time out of the Trents, the Dylans, and Taylor. So Stauffenberg coming through now. So he's coming through at 1 minute. So he's at about 50 seconds behind Taylor. So he's only lost 5 seconds to Taylor, but he's made up some good time on the likes of Dylan and Trent Thorpe. And it'll be interesting to see what happens over the second lap, considering he ran 14:43 last week. So, he's a good runner and he's going after them, and he wants a spot at the Commonwealth Games. Another side note to Giannis, he's super intelligent and got into medical school this year. Awesome. Him and his partner, Olivia Thornbury, who we saw race earlier this morning. So, they've also got medical school to start this year. So they're definitely intelligent, and they are very athletically gifted as well.
So not just a pretty face and some speedy run legs.
No.
Here we go. Hayden Wild, he's just got a bike to chase in front of him, and that bike with the camera mounted on his back is doing a great job of keeping ahead of Hayden Wild as he's putting in a wonderful display there. And there's the gap back to Taylor Reid. It's not too far. Taylor's doing a wonderful job to stay within contact, just reaches over to the drinks table, gets a little refresher, which gives you an idea of how warm things have got in the last couple of hours since we were puffer jackets and gloves early this morning. About 4 degrees here at the race venue at 7:30 in the morning, but things have definitely heated up. Real feel of temperatures probably more like 20-21 degrees. It's t-shirt weather. There's zero wind to talk about, and it is just beautiful conditions to be running a 5k along the lakefront of Lake Taupo. And is Taylor making inroads?
He's sitting about 10 seconds, you know what I mean? I wouldn't, Hayden would be running hard, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's at, the pace that he's running last week. But, Taylor looks a lot better than last week, and, he's got the likes of, that's Dylan McCulloch sitting in third, and then it's followed by Trent Thorpe sitting in fourth. Dylan, again, another guy that's been very consistent, third in New Plymouth, third last weekend in Mount Maunganui. Is he going to get third again today and go, hey, I'm potentially the third best athlete in the country, 3 spots for the Commonwealth Games, you need to take me? And he has international experience. He raced last year, and so we've got to remember that international race results from last year is considered. He was part of a mixed team relay in Montreal where we got second. It was a young team. We had the Olympian females of Nicole and Ainsley, who raced alongside Dylan and Saxon Morgan, where they got second. So he's got international experience. He's got some consistent results this summer, and in 2018 he was the Youth Olympic champion, and he's developed over the last 4 years into an elite athlete now.
So Hayden Wild continues to lead this race here in Taupo. This is the finale of our series, our little tri-series of sprint distance triathlons, the Oceania Continental Cups. We started in New Plymouth, in the wind and the hills of New Plymouth. Then we switched over to Mount Maunganui, where we had conditions like this. And here in Taupo, the weather has absolutely turned it on, and so has the racing. The men's race was just electric. The women's race was just electric, came down to a sprint finish, so be sure to go back and watch the replay of that after this one's finished. But we have about a kilometre left to run with Hayden Wild, the reigning bronze medalist from the Olympics, with a healthy lead over Taylor Reid. And surely, if you're a betting man, you're putting your money on Hayden Wild to maintain this lead over the other boys. And we will see a good little battle for second, third and fourth behind them. Can the likes of Jana Stauffenberg come from behind and pick up one of those minor placings? Hayden Wild is looking strong in first place right now.
Yeah, his arms are pumping a little bit more this time on the way back now, so he's wanting to make sure that there's no chance of being caught as he gets right up the back of the cameraman and probably says a few words that we can't hear just to keep him up in front of him. But good TV time, good advertisement for those sponsors on there, and a big shout out to the sponsors that support our sport here in triathlon. And without the support and the sponsors and the councils and the locals and the volunteers that come down and help put on these events, they wouldn't happen. So on behalf of the athletes, thank you for everyone that's involved.
So here he is, Hayden Wild. And I do have to ask you, Stephen Sheldrake, we saw 5 athletes come off the bike all together, and then it quickly became a running race. What's the importance of really developing the run leg for a triathlete?
Yeah, they say you don't want to quote the old swim and bike for show and run for dough.
Yeah.
But, it's truly now a sport where you need to be strong at all 3 disciplines. But a lot of the time on specifically flat courses, it comes down to the run. But it's the ability to run off the bike fast, you know what I mean? So, you want to develop athletes year on year. That usually injuries will come from younger athletes that sort of develop their running too much and they start doing the mileage that these elite athletes are doing. And it's the one, you're more likely to get injuries from. So it's just a slow build, you know what I mean? It's not an overnight success, the sport of triathlon. It is definitely a, 10 to 15 year pathway from when you enter to when you want to be, if you're going to be successful. They talk about the 10, 15,000 hours of doing, perfect practice and building slowly. And the biggest battle with this sport and any other sport is getting to the start line. How do you get to the start line injury-free?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We always, it's easy to swim, bike and run, you know what I mean? But how do we do it smartly? How do we do it without getting those niggles and injuries? We're always trying to push that envelope.
Here we come, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last 200 metres left to run. Hayden Wild, it was all together. We had 5 riders on the bike coming into T2. And then within about 300 or 400 metres, the man himself, the reigning bronze medalist, the reigning Xterra World Champion, the reigning second placer in the Super League, came to the fore. Hayden Wild, he's won in New Plymouth. He's won in Mount Maunganui. Today, here on the shores of Lake Taupo, he will win again. Here is Hayden Wild, your winner in the Oceania Continental Cup here in Lake Taupo. Puts his hands in the air. Job done.
Yeah, amazing 3-peat. As we see Taylor Reid come in, he's going to be about 20 seconds behind Hayden today, and he's going to be happy about that. 4th last week. He's made a few changes this week. Tougher course, it probably suited him, and he's finished 20 seconds behind his good mate here, Hayden. Both these guys were at the Olympics last year, race each other regularly, and Dylan McCulloch, he's going to come in. He's going to be the man that's been consistent with thirds throughout the summer, and he's going to put a big hand up towards the selectors and go, hey, I deserve to be selected. And Trent Thorpe looks like he's just going to hold on to fourth place and not get caught by Janus Struffenberg. So he's another 10 seconds behind Dylan, and he's going to be fourth today after a fifth place last week.
So great consistency from these athletes. Amazing. Dylan McCulloch picking up 3 thirds, and you've got to be pretty delighted when you look at the names on that start line to come away with 3 thirds 3 weekends in a row. Trent Thorpe coming through for fourth, and now the athletes are coming surging through.
Yeah, Janus Struffenberg, he's had a very good race, and he's finished, he's about a minute 10 down behind Hayden at the end there, so lost only 30 seconds to him, like most of the athletes would have done minimally, but he's ran very well at that second pack and led home them after the run today.
And importantly, that gets him up. Remember, we had 5 athletes coming into T2 altogether, and then a 45-second gap back to the pack. So for Janus to pull off that 5th place is a credit to his run skills, backing up from Mount Maunganui. Got James Corbett coming through. Austin Carter having a good day at the office as well.
Yeah, those boys had a really good battle last week. They all ran together and it came down to the finish like that. So Austin will be happy with that. He had a bit of an incident last week. He was disqualified. Just a learning, and he's learnt from it. He's had a very good race. He's ran through David Martin, who was in that front group, and he's going to get good World Cup points. That takes him into the international season, as we see Sam Parry, who won the under-19s last week, race up with the big boys. He made that second pack, and he's going to be a top 10 today too, and he should be very happy with that, as we see Lachlan Haycock just making his way into finish, again also in that top 10.
Well, we round off what has been just a wonderful 3 races all back to back, and I hope, ladies and gentlemen watching from home, you've enjoyed the coverage. We started off in New Plymouth with windy conditions on a really great challenging course heading up into the hills behind Paratutu in New Plymouth, and then we headed over to Mount Maunganui, where we had just flat out drag racing along the coastal roads and streets of Mount Maunganui. And here we finish off just with a bluebird day on a wonderful course here in Taupo. And we've just been treated to a masterclass in the run leg from Hayden Wild. How good was that 5K?
It's been awesome to see the last 3 weeks, all of our athletes racing well. So, big kudos to everybody, and we're going to say a big thank you to all these organisers, these city councils, for allowing us to happen. And, and thank you, Hayden, for the last 3 weeks been sharing this with you.
Oh, I've absolutely loved it. Now we're going to jump over to a interview with Hayden Wild, I believe. Oh, okay. So we've just been told from our producer with no interview. Hayden's enjoying the celebrations too much, but we have it's been our absolute privilege to bring you the action over these last 3 weeks. What a wonderful bunch of athletes we've had. What a wonderful community of triathlon we have here in New Zealand. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hayden Sherman. I've been joined by Stephen Sheldrake here in the commentary booth. We will see you next summer, and be sure to follow the progress of our athletes as they go and take on the world in what will be a wonderful Northern Hemisphere summer of triathlon. Ka kite anō.